Welcome off to the world.
All right, welcome back to Off the Rails. This is episode number 23, and with us we have 1/3 of the drunk uncles of White Sox Twitter, host of the from the 108 podcast, Mr. Beefloaf. How's it going?
Jems, I'm wonderful. How are you guys? I'm a little sweaty right now. It's a little warm in Chicago, and we have sort of all the windows and things open, and I was upstairs doing some dishes, and then I came down here, I turned the ring light on, and I'm like, I look like hell right now. I look like I'm all red and sweating, and it looks like I'm going into cardiac arrest, but I'll let you guys know I'm actually doing great. I'm fine. I'm thrilled to be on your show, and it works perfectly with the timing, because the 108 podcast is on hiatus for a couple weeks, and I'm just getting fired up for opening day. So loving to talk to you guys.
It also works out well that the White Sox are in the Pacific time zone and don't play till tomorrow, essentially.
Yes, absolutely. That was my one qualifier. I was like, as long as we can get done by the time the game is going to start, so I could watch it and then in the fourth inning fall asleep on my bed.
That's exactly what I did last night. I fell asleep. I think Rodon was still in when I fell asleep, so it had to be the fifth inning.
So I live in Colorado, so I'm a little bit behind both y'all, and we get some weird game times. You're like, okay, I wasn't planning on staying up till 7:00 in the afternoon, but no, I'm just kidding, just joking. No, games end way too early or start way too late for me because I grew up on the East Coast, mostly being a military brat, but I still call them the 11 o'clock games. For football, and my wife's like, they're the 1 o'clock games, and I'm like, vice versa. Sorry, 1 o'clock games, and then I'm like, she's like, they're the 11 o'clock games, and I'm like, whatever.
That's why
first game.
The central time zone is the best because their times make the most sense. Like football games start at noon. Why are you starting them at 1 o'clock? It's noon.
Makes sense.
I remember my old man telling me we watched football since I was a little kid. I was 7 years old when the Bears won the Super Bowl in the 85 season. So I have that one good team ingrained in my brain, and 35 years later, it's been nothing but pain and suffering. I know I'm talking to two Lions fans. I don't want to rub that part in so much.
Yeah.
But I remember having a conversation a year or two ago with my old man, and he's like, they used to have, noon starts and 1 o'clock starts. And I'm like, really? And so I went back in Football Reference, and sure enough, it was so weird. They had basically a central 1 o'clock start. So there would be a East Coast one and a central one. So the game, the Bears game would start and you would have first quarter scores in the games on the East Coast. It was bizarre. I'm glad they changed it now where it's kind of like blocks. So you're kind of always in the same, because that's so weird. Who knew? I guess you figure it out over time. You figure out what the best.
That would definitely mess up fantasy football a ton. I'd be like, wait, is he starting now? No. Oh, in a minute, is he gonna? I screw it. I'm just.
Did you see when they changed from that? Because I have 31 years of life, and I don't remember that.
I don't remember it at all, and I think it was kind of before I was cognizant. This is maybe late 70s, early 80s, before I was cognizant of football going on. And then even when I was a kid watching those teams, I was just focused on the Bears. I knew Monday Night Football happened, and I got to watch the first half of Monday Night Football game. Then it was time. My parents were pretty lenient about letting us watch anything and letting us stay up late, but they were like, all right, you do have to go to school tomorrow, so that's enough Dan Deerdorf for the evening. Why don't you go to bed? Let's the time for that.
That's the one good thing about being in the mountain zone is my kids can pretty much watch Monday Night Football if they want to. I mean, they don't. I got two teenage daughters and a 3-year-old little dude, so he probably will. The older girls are like, no, we'll be on TikTok or whatever that they're doing. They're not actually on TikTok because we don't let them, but they hack the system and they go on that YouTube thing where they have the YouTube stories that people just repost to TikTok. So they're not technically on TikTok, but they're watching. It's being a parent in the technology generation is. Luckily, I know technology, but I'm if you're an older parent, if you're in the 50-year-olds that have the 12-year-olds, man, you're screwed probably because you don't know how to work technology.
I've always said my kids aren't going to be able to get away with the shit that I did, but I guess everything's ever changing, so it's probably a lot easier, different than what they get away with now.
Yeah, it'll be some different shit. They're into some different things. I know my daughter is big into playing. She's 11. She's big into playing Minecraft, And you're totally right. It's impossible to keep them off of everything. Like she watches YouTube and like she'll watch Netflix shows with us. Like she's been real into like Riverdale, rewatching Riverdale and stuff like that.
My daughter's big in Riverdale.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm fairly liberal with all the stuff I'll let her see because my parents were like that. Like my daughter and I one night we stayed up late and we watched Heathers. I don't know if you guys have ever seen Heathers. Like it's a cult classic, but it's a little scary. There's some sketchy stuff and there's some dark humor, but you know, I just sort of feel like if they're watching it with me, if she's watching with me, she can ask questions, understand, or see which parts Dad's laughing at, and then she'll know that's the funny dark humor.
Well, it's funny that you say that because we actually so we'll do a draft later on. We've already talked about it, but we had a draft with I believe it was Matt Hires. We did the movie one with, right? Matt Hires.
Yeah, 90s movies.
So we did one 90s movies, and we found out during that podcast that my mom bought me Major League Baseball because she thought I was like literally like, she was like, oh, it's baseball. He loves baseball. At like 5, she let me watch Major League by myself. Yes. And then Jems is traumatized by dinosaurs because he watched Jurassic Park when he was like 3.
Oh.
My mom came home from like the video store, Family Video or whatever it was then, and was like, "Hey, I got a dinosaur movie." And I was like, "This is awesome! I love Land Before Time." That was not Land Before Time, and I was off dinosaurs for I'm still probably off dinosaurs.
That'll definitely do it. I love that, Jems. You're ruined on dinosaurs. And Tone, every time you hear the name Rene Russo, you get an erection. I assume that's kind of how you guys have to roll now.
That's accurate. I mean, Thomas Crown Affair works too. I mean, it's just stuck with me.
Probably Rocky and Bullwinkle. Does that do it for you?
Not quite. But, that's also where I think of like all of those people though from. Like, it's funny. Like, I mean, people are like, oh, you got Charlie Sheen's from this, and I'm like, no, Charlie Sheen's the pitcher in Major League.
Yeah, exactly.
It's hard to weird to see him when he was doing that Tiger Blood stuff. You're like, hey, come on, calm down, man. Just go through the heat, man. Come on.
I haven't heard much about him for a while since he said he had AIDS.
I think he's dead. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just joking.
I haven't heard much from him either. Like he pop up occasionally. I feel like he was in a commercial semi recently that I was like, "Whoa, what's this guy doing here?" But like, he's old too. Like, you're like at a certain point, it's like you're not the cool guy anymore. You're just another old guy. So
his brother's back, so back.
Low key, those two have made 2 of the best sports movies ever: Major League and Mighty Ducks.
Oh, there's no question. I mean, I'm a big fan of Charlie Sheen going back to like Wall Street. I love the movie Raw because it's like total 80s excess. And it's like, gambling in the stock market and cheating, and there's all kinds of goofy shit going on in that movie. I love that movie.
Yeah, Jems has no clue what you're talking about because he's like 12, but Jems is a young buck. I think last episode we were literally talking, and I was like, I said something. Oh, we did. What was the number one song the when you were born? So because like my family's like music nerds, and so like my daughter, had this like Hey There Delilah. They're a Chicago band, by the way. That was like the song of the year the week my daughter was born, and then Jems looked his up and he was like, it was like Michael Bolton, like Take Your Breath Away, and like Sinead O'Connor, like Nothing Compares to You, and I was like, you are so young. I was like, I remember that. I was like 9. Yeah, so Jems is the young one.
Sorry, Jems.
It's all right. I was chasing around a bunch of 6 and under T-ballers about an hour ago, so I mean,
that's the kind of shit that will keep you young, though, man. Chasing around those kids. Before the pre-pandemic, my daughter. I said my daughter's 11. She's about the age where she's been playing basketball for a couple of years now, and so I've been coaching her. And I'm fat old sweaty guy. Now I did play basketball in my past. I played high school ball here in Chicago, but now we're fast forwards 25 years later. I'm just a fat old sweaty guy chasing around these 9-10-year-old kids and trying to show them here's how you pass, and I do all this stuff. But I felt great. Anytime I have a practice, I'm like, only an hour. I'm moving around with these kids and I'm showing them a few things. I'm like, oh, that's my exercise for the week.
It's crazy too, because my daughter, my youngest teenage daughter, she plays basketball. She's been playing basketball like 5 years now. So she plays on like 2 AAU teams, and she like plays with school. So she's like constantly going. But like, I mean, that's most of the coaches. Most of the coaches are like our age, and they're like dudes that used to play. So it's like it's pretty much, it's kind of funny. Like you walk in, you're like, these might as well just be the same two teams. Like, you're just like,
Right?
just look like the same thing. Every now and then you'll get like a woman coach. You'll see a woman coach, but like, yeah, it's wild. It's always like dudes our age, like just coaching their daughters.
It's time to pass on that knowledge, you know.
Yeah, I gotta give it to someone, No, my son. Speaking of t-ball, we just signed my 3-year-old up for t-ball again. So this will be a second season playing. So
Nice.
Yeah.
They started young in Colorado. I think it was the cutoff was 4 here for.
Wow.
Well. So he played an indoor league because Colorado is snowy, so had an indoor league, and now he's going to play outdoor league for the first time. So, but he's been hitting off a tee since before he could walk. So, so that's kind of how we roll.
He's ahead of the class right now.
Yeah. We have a batting cage in our basement. So if that makes
nice.
sense.
Wow, that's impressive.
I built him a batting cage in our basement because he hits too hard off the tee. So I had a tee with like wiffle balls. Okay. So he would just hit, and then he started smashing the walls. And my wife was like, "He's gonna put a hole in the wall, so you have to move him downstairs." So now in the unfinished basement, we have a little batting cage because he hits too hard.
That's excellent.
You're doing good things with him, Tone.
Yeah, for sure.
Other than the name, you're doing great.
Sure. I mean, he loves baseball though. Ever since, which is, I mean, we all know because we're huge baseball fans. I know baseball catches a bad rap from other sports fans that aren't baseball fans, but baseball is like the greatest sport. I mean, hands down.
Well, and I think if your name is Ryan, you have to be good at baseball. Like I had one on my college team. His name was Ryan. He was good.
Well, I mean, well, most likely if your parents are naming you after a baseball player, they're like maybe like funneling you that way.
You're being slightly predisposed to this vocation here.
If I name my kid Deion Sanders, he's probably going to play both sports. No, just kidding.
If I ever have a boy, I'm naming him Yerman. So then he's just Yerminator.
What a legend he already is. I just been like with our 108 stuff. We really loved Daniel Palka, and then that shit just didn't work out. He had that one year where he's hitting a bunch of home runs or whatever. Yerman would be a nice thing to work out for a Southside team, to have a chubby guy like that who's fun, who is hitting for a high average, and just sort of like he just gets up there and takes the bat and whacks. That's all he does. Like he's just the hitter guy.
The only thing that would be better with him though is if he was in right field.
So he can be close to us. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
If we need to be able to smell a Yerman. That to fully ingest the entire experience, we need to get like a little whiff in right field of him. There's no question.
Daniel Palka will pop up on my Twitter and stuff, and I miss him from that one year, not the second year, but the first year.
Yeah, not the second year.
I wanted him so bad just to be good because he was hilarious. He did like 3 episodes of a podcast with White Sox Dave, and then
yes. And he went on some MLB show and told them that he was a McDonald's All-American. And they fucking believed it. And then it was like someone went into Wikipedia and changed it and put him in there. And then he let everyone in on the joke later. But it's like you need fun guys like that in baseball. Yeah. Like we were saying, like baseball gets a bad rap because it doesn't have enough of that goofy shit that people are just like, whoa, what the hell is this? And Yerman could be a guy like that.
Definitely.
Baseball also has like all of the weirdest like stories too, because like it's like the only like major sport. Like football, I feel like you could probably make it if you're a smaller dude, but it's still like kind of weird. Most of the dudes, I mean, you kind of have to have a little physical gifts as far as being like the right size. Basketball for sure, like I mean, but baseball, like there's legit dudes that are like all of us that you can see playing. I mean, I was watching the Cubs game yesterday, and now his name's totally slipping my mind. Eric Sogard, yeah, and he looks like an accountant. Dude just looks like somebody's accountant. He looks like he should be at H&R Block doing my taxes tomorrow when I go. Like,
have you seen Nick Madrigal?
Yeah.
Hey, he's tiny. He's a tiny guy, and it's funny. Like I'm a full season ticket holder. Before the COVID thing went, they had a thing at the beginning of 2020 where we always call it White Sox Prom. It's like a meet and greet. Like the season ticket holders get to go to, and it's like in a ballroom and stuff. And the players are there. So if you want to get autographs or just talk to them or whatever. Me personally, I don't care about getting autographs, but like just standing around some of these guys, like you don't realize how short Andrew Vaughn is. I'm like, Andrew Vaughn, he ain't no 5'9". he got some thick legs, like but he's maybe 5'8" or ish.
Isn't he listed at like 6 foot though?
Yeah. He's not. And Madrigal's small, and then some of these guys are gigantic, like Nomar Mazara. I mean, not on the team anymore, as he was horrible, but he was at this thing, and it's like this guy's like 7 feet tall. This guy should be center for the Bulls. What the hell? So you totally like can't. You can't tell until you're like right there by them, and you're like, "Holy shit, yeah, this guy." Or Jose Abreu was another guy who's gigantic, like big shoulders and kind of a scary guy,
It's fun. It is funny how the sizing difference. I mean, growing up in Virginia, like I met Allen Iverson. That's why I'll still to this day be like Allen Iverson, probably one of the greatest basketball players of all time. I know he doesn't get his due. Yeah. That dude's legit like 5'10". Like legit 5'10". Like, I mean, I'm 6 foot tall and he's shorter than me. And I was like, he's listed at like 6 foot, but they not a chance he's 6 foot. And I'm 5'10" is probably being generous. So but yeah, it's funny how they don't build these people properly. And then like you see it with the NFL too, because they do the combine and they're like, this guy's only 6 foot and 3/4 of a quarter of an inch. If he was 6'1", and you're like, the quarter of an inch really matters? Like, like, what the fuck are we doing?
Put some lifts in your shoes. You get that.
Yeah, for sure. Just like I feel like they do that with baseball too a little bit. Like they're like, oh, he's got the prototypical size, but then like some of those dudes just don't. I mean, some of the weirdest dudes, like look at Randy Johnson. That guy's prototypical size to do nothing but probably play basketball, like in the 80s.
Well, Randy Johnson is why, as a kid, I was super excited about John Rauch. He was like 6'11" in the White Sox minor league system, and then he did nothing.
He was like a top 5 overall in baseball rated prospect, and then you're right, he just did nothing. Like
Seattle did that with they drafted Ryan Anderson too. He was a tall, like 6'11" dude.
He might be the guy from Notre Dame that was their closer. Notre Dame had a giant that ended up getting drafted.
I was gonna say, I think Ryan Anderson came straight out of high school. I think maybe. He was from the Detroit area. So
okay,
yeah. But I was like, but it was like that thing. It was like Randy Johnson was dominating, so people were like, "Let's get all the tall guys."
Yeah, we'll get them all in the workout.
Well, I think if you're an athlete and you're like average or short, you have to add inches to your height. Like I went to junior college out in Aurora, and our coach was like, "All right, I need your heights and weights." So I was like, "I'm 5'10". I was like, 6'2", 200 pounds. You were like 5'10", 170. I was like, all right, 5'11", 185.
Jems was also from his like where he was born was also places unknown. He was already
add a little mystery to it. I can remember doing that when I played high school basketball here in Chicago, except I did it in the other direction, Jems, because I was like one of the fattest guys on the team. So I'm like, you know what? I'm only 190 pounds. I'm not 215 like I really actually am. So I kind of went in the other direction with all that.
I don't blame you. I mean, I've always been like a little bit heavier, and then I'm a normal 6 foot normal height, I guess. But like, I mean, but it's funny too because like Jems pitched. What position did you play when you were playing?
Oh, I didn't play in high school, but like when I was playing, Pony League or Rec League or whatever. When I was younger, I played shortstop, and then as I got older, I caught. And so catching was fine for me. Even though I'm 6'2", but I had terrible technique. Like I didn't know how to block a ball or anything, but I was like a fucking octopus. I could reach everything. Yeah. So I just catch it on the short hop. No one's throwing that hard, right? It was Pony League, the hardest guy is throwing maybe in the high 70s. So who gives a shit? I could scoop that thing. And I had no arm whatsoever. So like I could get up out of my stance and throw it as hard as I could. And it would be the exact same speed as if I caught the ball, dropped to my knees, and just short-armed it out to the base. So that's what I did because I had no arm whatsoever to speak of. But I loved catching because you're involved in every play. So it's like I'm paying attention here. Like out in the field, get boring. Like I'm just like you're standing around in right field or left field or something like that. It's like
that's why I couldn't play those ones. and the worst part about the outfield is like the fact that like you have to be on every play because if that ball gets hit to you, it gets on you so fast that like you can make a mistake. You have so much ground to cover. You're like, man, screw shit. I got to see. I played catcher, but we're like I said earlier, we're both lefties. I played catcher all the way up through my junior year of high school.
Oh wow, okay.
I had a 1.9 pop time.
Holy shit!
So I had an arm, and then I was at I've told the story, but I was at Michigan State camp, and we were doing drills, and the coach came over and he like watched me like 3 reps, and he was like, "So you're really good." He's like, "You look weird doing it," but he's like, "Man," he's like, "We'll definitely like probably want to talk to you afterwards, like try to get you like coach up and see where your thoughts are to go to college. And I was like, oh, cool. And then he looked at my glove and he was like, you're a lefty. And he was like, go over and see the pitching coach. I was like, oh shit. And then I started pitching, and I topped out at 91. But
damn.
Yeah, and then I tore my arm off the bone twice. But then that kind of sucks. But catching was always catching and shortstop were my positions. I just always had the strongest arm, and I always was athletic enough to make the play properly.
Even though you were the opposite handedness.
Yeah. I was like the Javi Baez. Like I did like spins and shit. Like I'd throw the ball, I'd catch it off like the one, and then flip it over my back, and then catch it mid throw and like throw it.
That's excellent.
My first game ever. This is like totally bragging, but my first game ever, my first T-ball game ever. They traded me teams because the other team didn't have enough players.
Yep.
And I turned a triple play in the first game.
That coach was like, damn it, I can't believe I did that. I was stupid.
Like a legit triple play. Like I fielded it at shortstop, tagged the dude out, went to second base, tagged it, threw it over to first base. The first baseman missed the ball. I ran over and grabbed the ball and tagged first base before the kid got there. Turned a legit triple play by myself.
Instead of having your Twitter bio that says co-host of Off the Rails or producer Man Pod, I think you just need to delete all of that and just turn to triple play first game of T-ball.
I mean, and the best part is it was in Iceland because we were military brats. So it made like the local news. Like they actually had video of it because there was nothing else going on. So,
you got to cut that clip and put it up on Twitter.
And my parents are so great that I just somehow have no video of it. I was like, it made the news. Like, what are you doing?
The reaction you've just had, I've had countless times when he'll start telling a story on here and be like, oh yeah, my dad got off Air Force One and then blah blah. I was like, what in the fuck did you just say?
The Iceland shit, I was like, wait a minute. It was like record scratch in my head. What do you mean you're playing in Iceland? What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah. But no, it really made me mad though, because my dad played like really competitive softball over there. And he made the play of the day like 7 times. We got all of those on video. I'm like, what the fuck, man? I was like, why isn't my unassisted triple play on there?
Your dad was jealous. He's like, well, we're not hanging on.
Right? No, yeah. It is what it is, though. Yeah.
Tone, you design all our logos and stuff for the network and everything. Dissect that logo over Beefloaf's shoulder, the 108 one.
I love it.
The more you look at it, the more you see stuff. That one.
Yeah.
This guy right here.
Well, I noticed it. So obviously, it's a bat/beer bottle.
Yep, that's right.
I'm assuming, and I'm not local, so I'm assuming that star thing is some sort of local beer.
Is that like the Chicago Star?
You know what? I'll have to ask my Sox Summer who created the original logo. I know most of his thing was, because he's a graphic designer, is like, all right, we're going to make this logo. It's going to look like the Sox Batterman, but we got to change enough things so they won't sue our balls off. If we get big enough and they know who we are. Which now we're at the point where we're big enough and they know who we are, but they wouldn't. They like what we do, so that's not. There's a friendship there. So
which is a nice thing. Which is a nice thing in baseball, because for the longest time, baseball shoot themselves in the foot by not letting people like share video and all that. I'm like, guys, what are we doing, man? Like, just let people share the game.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so no, but I actually was looking at it earlier, and then obviously the 108. I'm assuming section 108 for you guys.
That's correct. Yeah, that's the section that we sit in. That's where our season tickets are at. So
so I like it. I think
have they upped the prices in that section now that you guys are advertising it?
You know what's funny is for a long time that section or like the corners, lower corners like that, because we're right behind the right field foul pole.
For 10 vouchers, it's $304. I just looked today. I was sitting in my car at lunch looking up. Yeah. For those sections, they were always the cheapest on the lower bowl. Like it was the cheapest spot you could sit, and that's kind of why we ended up there. Teresa E and I, that's my brother. He's part of the power trio that makes up the From the 108 crew. With yourself, the Beefloaf. I'm the body. My Sox Summer. He's the face. And Teresa E is the brains. And so Teresa E and I were brothers. We were playing some Sunday softball leagues, and we were like, oh, man, drinking this hard on Sunday is really killing us. We gotta scale back. So what we're going to do is get season tickets for the Sox, and we'll just drink at the ballpark, and then we can walk home. We don't have to worry about playing athletics around this. And when we were first looking, we're like, oh, this section's the cheapest. So that was what drew us there. And then once we got the seats for a little while, and this was 2008 when we first got our seats,
we know enough people, Bridgeport area, because we both grew up in Bridgeport, which is right by the ballpark, and then a lot of Sox fans from growing up. It would become kind of a meeting place. People would come over there because there'd be empty seats all over the place where we're sitting. It's not like one of the best seats in the stadium. It's kind of a shitty seat because you're in the corner and you got the foul pole in front of you and everything. So it was a place you could start to congregate. And so once that started happening, and this was way before we ever did any of the blog or the podcast or the Sunday Soak or any of that stuff, we were like, we will never move our seats because this is a great place for people to just kind of hang out. Over the years, though, as it starts getting more and more known, more people would buy in those sections. And I had people telling me when the single games, obviously we're sort of, at this point with COVID, there's less seats, but people were trying to buy into season tickets. And they were saying that they had 108 blocked off. They weren't allowing anyone to get new season tickets there. One guy that I know, he asked specifically of his ticket agent, I know those guys, I want to sit. And then the guy's like, okay, all right, well, we'll see what we can do, and got him in there. But that kind of blocked off. I have a theory that they're waiting until the thing's rocking and rolling, and then they'll pump up those single game tickets. As it'll be like, oh, okay, you want to sit here now? It's double the price or whatever.
Yeah.
So I hope Brooks Boyer gives us a cut because I think we deserve it.
I mean, they should put a legit banner. You guys should get like a banner out there. Like it should be like a free ad. The podcast.
It should be. Well, I mean, we would love that. Obviously, it was funny when there was some little poll that came out. Or it was like a small study that was basically saying the Sox fans drink the most out of anyone, and we talked about it on our podcast. And when you read the fine print, it's like, yeah, they only surveyed like 3,800 people in the whole country. So it's like I don't know how much you want to believe this whole thing, but regardless, there were people on Twitter saying the Sox should hang a banner in 108 for our drinking championship. The Sox fan drinking title over there. So
why not?
Who knows? Maybe that will go up. I don't know. But yeah,
you guys need like championship shirts for that, like like the national champions in basketball wear. But
yeah. Speaking of that, we were talking about championship shirts today because I ordered a championship belt today for a bracket tournament that we, as the Iron Ostrich Network, put on that you guys were in.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I did see that. We had a terrible first round matchup.
Yeah,
we had the Red Line Radio.
By the way, Jems picked that matchup, so and he's also the one that put you in the tournament. So
I appreciate that, Jems. Well, we appreciate that, but we had a terrible matchup, and I love the Red Line Radio guys. But I think I specifically responded, "Love all these guys, but fuck them. We want to win."
Yeah,
we didn't. Though.
My theory on it was like we did rank most of the seeds like pretty like dead on to like actual rankings in like the podcast world and listeners and shit like that. But I was like, it was like they were like the 4 seed. You guys were the 13.
Yeah, 13. Yeah.
So originally they were a little different, but I was like, we need these guys to match up either in the first or second round because they have an actual relationship there, and maybe we can get something going. I was thinking more on like the business side.
Yeah. I mean, if it means anything, we put our own podcast against Pardon My Take. So I mean, we we got slaughtered too.
That's a stiff matchup in the first round. Yeah, I can see that. Oh yeah, the Red Line Radio guys are great. We've done a bunch of stuff over the years with White Sox Dave, and we even we did a Festivus show this year, and we had Barstool Eddie on. And Barstool Eddie's he's awesome. The first time I ever met Barstool Eddie was actually at a Sox game. He was there for some other thing. And the first time I ever met him, he gave me a big hug. Like that's the kind of nice guy a Barstool Eddie is.
Nice.
A real
My buddy met him at I think it was Four Winds in New Buffalo, the casino, and went up to him and was like, "Oh, Eddie," and he's like, and this was like probably 2 years ago. He's like, "Nobody recognizes me. This is awesome." And then they talked for a little bit and stuff, and he got a picture with him.
Yeah, he's great. He's such a sweetheart. Really nice guy, and great to see him. His star is exploding, man. He's everywhere. He's doing everything. So he's awesome. I'm glad for him. Very happy for the guy.
That his podcast or the Dave Portnoy show made a pretty good run in I think it was a Final Four in our tournament.
It was a Final Four, yeah.
Which the brains behind that tournament that we ran was me.
Yes.
But I got the idea from the 108 tournament for the most part because I seen like everybody looks forward to that in the White Sox Twitterverse, and I just see so many interactions, retweets, all that stuff. I was like, we need to do something like that to get our followership up, and I was like, we podcast. So
yeah,
we did it. And we just started the network in what, February?
Mid-February, yeah, probably.
and we gained 180 followers or almost 200 followers just by doing that tournament.
That's a great way to, and it's a great way to kind of engage the group. When we were first doing that, the 108 tourney is 4 years old now. The first year that we did it, we put it together and it was like kind of a half-assed idea. And my Sox Summer and Trees, they were like, fuck that idea. It's stupid. And I was like, no, let's do this. We're going to do it. Put it out there. And I can remember, this is early on. We've been doing a blog for maybe a year and a half or something. And we put that out. We put out in a blog post, that bracket. And I remember putting it out at like 8 a.m. and I go to work. I get to work and I check WordPress and I'm like, holy shit, this is doing 20x what a normal post would be doing in the first, in the first day that it's out. And it's doing that in the first hour. People are really interested in this. And as it went over time, it sort of developed its own thing. Like we just sort of got out of the way and let it go. We put a lot of work into like the field and how we're going to promote it. And we work with a sponsor to make sure that we kind of get the max out of it. And people on Sox Twitter are supportive, but what the people who are in the tournament actually do is the real show. I mean, they're like crazy shit. Like King Nam, who's one of our guys, one of our ancillary characters. He's the hot dog, $1 hot dog eating champ. He got a cameo of Joe Ganascoli from The Sopranos, Vito. And Vito gives this whole thing for like 2 minutes. He says White Sox Twitter and all this stuff. And he's like backing out of his driveway and he almost gets clipped by another car. It's like amazing stuff. Another guy got Evan Stone to do one, like the adult film style. Like, people are just like spraying in all directions to do it and like making their own memes and making their own videos and stuff. And so we kind of just like try to set the matchups to people that we know might go at each other a little bit. Yeah. Sometimes you want to go with people that are like friendly, like you're thinking about, Jems. Like we're friendly with the Barstool guys, so there is a chance we could hurl some dirt at each other because we know each other, right? Yeah. And then sometimes you want to go with the people don't fucking like each other and let them kind of meet up in a thing because they may not go at each other, but their groups of people might kind of like start some stuff and have some fun. Luckily for us in the 108 tourney, like this past year, people kept it pretty, civil. There wasn't in the past there's been some wild shit where we're just like, should we be doing this? Should we be facilitating this kind of stuff together?
Is it wild to like turn on the score and hear them talking about your tournament on there?
Absolutely insane. Like it's hilarious that you mentioned that. I'm working during the day, and all of a sudden I'm getting messages, and then like my dad's texting me. He's like, they're talking about you on the score right now for some reason. Like I'm like, what the? And so like then I got to go back and listen. I remember last year when the pandemic just hit, there was no sports. And we were doing this, and I get a message at like 6:30 in the morning on Friday. It's from Sean Anderson, who's one of the producers at the Score. He's like, hey, Beef, would you want to come on the Score tonight at like 9 o'clock and talk 20 minutes about the 108 tourney? And I'm thinking, really? Why? But Herb Lawrence and Rick Camp had me on. And then this year, obviously, Chris Tannehill, and they were making it kind of a little point to talk, him and Shane Reardon were making a point to talk about it on the Danny Parkins show. It's just wild. We're just appreciative that people are in on the bit and get it and want to have fun with it. Like the Locked On Sox guys did do a bunch on their podcast, and we've gone back and forth a little bit with them, like kind of a fake beef between us groups. But it's fun stuff. I mean, people seem to really enjoy it. And we set it up to line right into White Sox season. So you have that lull, the end of spring training, where the games don't mean shit, and it's like, okay, let's get everyone together, let's get everyone on Twitter and interacting with each other and voting. And I remember afterwards, the last day of the tournament's over, we're exhausted because we do like nightly recaps too. We switch it off and we're doing, a breakdown of the whole thing that's happened. And I remember I'm so happy and exhausted the day after the tournament. And people are tweeting, I wish I had something to vote on today. That's a good feeling.
Yeah, it's fun too. Like you said, it's fun just to interact with it too. Like, I mean, we have like 7 of us that started this network, and like we have like a little group chat. And like, I mean, I'd be at work and like someone would be like, "Oh shit, Bert Kreischer just retweeted," like, and you're like, "Oh shit," and then like It just went crazy. And then or like Steve-O retweeted one time. We were like, "What the fuck?" Like, this is a weird fucking thing that we just have going on. But yeah, it was fun though. But and we take it serious. Like like you guys obviously took it serious enough. You realize we're sports fans, so we're like, brackets are great, they're so fun. And and like, so we did a championship belt. Like I literally like custom championship belt. Like it looks cool. I just finalized it. I was like, this is awesome. And Bert followed us somehow during this entire thing, so I DM'd him today, and hopefully he gets back to me. And if not, I I kind of have corresponded with his producer like once or twice, and so like I'm like I can find a way to get him the belt or whatever. But I was like, yeah, let's just have fun with it. Let's do what we can to like make it like a spectacle and have fun with it. But yeah, like Jem said, he basically we stole your guys' idea, but you know,
it's everyone's idea at this point. That kind of thing is anyone's idea, and that's everything too. Like, you know, in doing content stuff,
yeah,
you always got to come up with something new or some different angle that people will get into. And you know, if you like, you did a different twist on it, right?
Yeah.
And you did a championship belt. Like, we don't have a championship belt. I mean, My Sock Summer did find like a wood squirrel that he is sending to Summer George
awesome.
as the trophy. But I mean, like, yeah, there's like all different layers to do in anything like this. And polls in tournaments like that work great because everyone has an opinion about something. And you'll not only get like we're lucky that we get the people involved in the tournament to actually participate in like creating all kinds of content, but in a way it helps them sort of show. One of the things we touted as, we have like 13,000 followers on Twitter. If you're someone I put you in a tournament and you've got 200 followers, this is your fucking chance to get people to know who you are. And a lot of the people that are just in the tournament or Sox Twitter people are very good about this in general. Like Bennett Carroll does a Follow Friday every Friday. With Sox fans, and wants Sox fans to kind of follow. And a lot during the tournament, people were saying, you know what, follow my opponent. My opponent's great. You know, vote for me, but make sure you follow that person. And so that's the key. Everyone follow each other back. See what you like. Give some new people a chance that you haven't followed yet. You never know. You might find a follow that you're like, holy shit, I really enjoy listening to what they have to say or seeing their memes or their gifs or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, we had. I think that's the one thing that I was really pumped on. We had one in particular that comes to mind is Bert Kreischer and Large from Barstool. Kind of had like a they like had like a fake beef, I guess, going like they like matched up in like 3 different rounds somehow, like because they have multiple podcasts.
That was by chance too.
Totally by chance. Like we didn't even set up like that.
Second bite at the apple to duke it out.
So, but they were interacting with each other. It was hilarious, and I'm like, man, it'd be kind of cool, like if like Bert goes on like Twisted History or like you know he has Large on the Bertcast or whatever, like, and you're like, because you don't know who knows who, but I mean they're in the same business essentially. I mean it's the content game, you know. I mean who knows what could spur from it. So it's like it was interesting to see like people interacting with each other that you don't normally see interacting with each other. So I was like, who knows? We'll just see.
Watching the like impressions on a post like that, where those like 2 people with big followers are going back and forth, I was like, holy shit.
Oh yes, yeah. That's where it's really at in those types of things. Is like it's shocking to see. You just realize like when you're looking at it for your own personal Twitter, you just realize how small your Twitter account is compared to some of these monsters out there on Twitter. You know, like the people they build up, big brands, and everyone wants to put an eyeball on them when they do something.
Yeah, we our goal. I'm assuming Jem's goal as a White Sox fan is to get invited to this tournament. So he's going to start turning out some probably crazy like White Sox.
Inviting me on this show is a terrific fucking start since I'm the one who picks the field.
Well, I have a White Sox Twitter account that I'm trying to find which way I want to go with it. It follows only White Sox people, and it's like devoted to my White Sox tweets.
No, Jems, let me warn you. If you're planning on going thirst trap, that's my fucking alley, okay? You stay out of there, right? No, I don't want to see you shirtless. And I don't want to see you.
Neither do I.
That's my arena, okay? That's me, Summer George, and a couple other thirst traps. We'll stay in there. All right? You pick your own lane.
I'm just trying to find my genre of whites, because there's so many different, like there's like Luis Roberts' ass or butt cheeks or something. There's just a ton of different. White Sox Twitter is, I don't know if all teams fandoms are like that or if it just is the White Sox Twitter, but it's incredible on Eloy Jimenez's mom, and just so many different ones.
Jems, I wonder that too, and I kind of wonder if it has to do, like I always look at, and you're a little too young for this, but Tone, you're not. There's like the Seattle music scene, and the reason the Seattle music scene bubbled up is because no one gave a shit about going up to Seattle and playing a show, right? So they're all by themselves, and they just started doing their own thing. And Sox Twitter feels a little bit like that because the major media in the city didn't give a shit about the Sox for the last decade, right? They're not covered. They don't care. Like I'm fine if some event happens, if a Philip Umber no-hitter or some bullshit event happens, yeah, okay, they'll be interested for 2 seconds. But no one was really kind of staying in as far as like the television stations and the major radio stations, whatever. It just wasn't a focus. There were hosts on those places that would do it, but it wasn't like kind of a big thing. And so what happens is like in the ooze, weird blogs and podcasts and all kinds of shit bubbles up, and Twitter personalities. It's like, how does that person have, 5,000 Twitter followers? They're a knucklehead, but it's like, this is our scene. This is what it is. These people, maybe they're not the best, but there are people.
Yeah. That, it's not, I guess it's a White Sox burner or something, but, like the people that follow, like White Sox Twitter is great with following. You said it earlier. Like I'll have somebody be like, "Oh, so and so followed you," and they'll have 3,000 followers, and then so and so followed you with 40 followers. But there's also these like Jesus bots that I get like 4 of them that'll follow me in a row, and it'll be like, "Oh, love the White Sox," and then like a disciple of Jesus or something. And I was like, I think this is a bot, but why are there 4 of them with 1,500 followers?
Just never know, man.
Just follow back, see what it's about.
Divine intervention, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, no, it's wild. Twitter's a fun place though. Like, I have a hard time because I do I guess I social media manage a couple different podcasts, but like Instagram is so boring to me. Like, because I'm like, Twitter is like so interactive that you're like, yeah, like this, and then people, and it's funny when you hear people and they're like, oh, I don't do Twitter. Twitter's like, I don't know. It's like, it's just weird. And you're like, Twitter's the greatest place on earth. What are you talking about?
Twitter is the best tool that everybody needs.
Yeah, that's what it is. It's kind of toxic in its own ways, and it's kind of like, and then a random person with 7 followers comes for your head on something, but you just gotta like deal with it. It's like, all right, that's just part of this game. This is how this works.
That's funny because we had a dude and somebody from our account. We have a few people that have access to our Iron Ostrich Network account. Tweeted a joke about Cleveland Brown, like a Browns football is like a hallway, and it was like the last thing a turd sees before it hits the toilet, and some dude with like 4 followers, and like three of them were like Russian sex bots. And he's like,
"Oh, congrats!"
Yeah. He's like, "You guys just lost a follower. Great."
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I was like, okay, sorry. I guess. I mean,
all right, don't let the door hit you on the ass on the way out.
Right.
I'm like, if you're legit a Browns fan and you don't have a sense of humor, like you got some problems.
Right. Because they made it this far.
Yeah, no, it's wild. Yeah, but yeah, no. I did want to ask you a little bit about how like you guys kind of got started in the space, because I don't know as much as Jems is obviously a diehard follower. I'm now going to be listening. I started listening when he put you in the tournament, so I was like, I enjoy it. So I enjoy your guys' podcast. So I definitely want to follow more, even though I'm not even a White Sox fan. I'll just follow. I don't give a fuck.
Well, I mean, our podcast isn't entirely baseball, and I wouldn't, it's like I would put a not safe for work on it. I mean, we kind of re-record like 8:30 on Thursday nights generally. It's a YouTube live show, so you can kind of see us also getting intoxicated more and more as we're doing the show, as we drink all show as well. I mean, that's kind of one of our bets. No, we started, so this probably goes back to like, I don't know, 2013, 2014 era. We had our season tickets. Treasy and I were brothers, and we met my Sox summer. He actually was dating and then married a friend of ours, and so once he and her got together, he started going to a lot of Sox games. He actually had his own blog, his own My Sox Summer blog, where he was trying to do 50 games. He was trying to attend 50 games for under $500 in the season. Now, this was way before the flash sales and the $7 tickets and all that shit. This is when you had to get creative to get this all done, And so he built up a bit of a following doing that, and then he kind of put that down for a bit. And we just sort of, Treasy and I had come off. We probably spent the last 6 or 7 years very seriously betting on sports, like making probably like half my income on sports betting. But we'd gotten to the point where we had, one, kind of burned out on it. 2, we were out of outs. Like we couldn't sign up our dog another time on that site because we'd be thrown out. It was, the stuff we were taking advantage of. They only let you take advantage of for so long, and you only have so many friends to make accounts for you. So we were just like, all right, we've done what we can do there, and we're like, let's channel our energy. And so we're like, 108's a fun place during the game, and we're here drinking, and people are having fun and laughing and joking about it. What if we brought like this community feel out to like the content world. And this is like, we opened up the 108 Twitter account maybe late 2015, and we started blogging in 2016. I think the first blog I wrote was about Avi Garcia. It's like, oh, Avi Garcia, up and coming star, and it's like, well,
Miguel Cabrera Jr.
Yeah, exactly. All that kind of shit, And when we started, our vein was like, we're not going to be like everybody else because we'll just get crushed if we're like everyone else. Like, I even think about it today, 5 years into this. If you're starting a podcast today, a Sox podcast, and you want to try to be like Sox Machine, just quit. Because you'll never be as good as they are. You want to be something else. You want to be your own category. Because if you're trying to be White Sox Dave, you will not beat White Sox Dave. He will whoop your ass.
I don't think you gotta be him.
Well, so it would be an interesting combination of non-height and anyway. Yeah, no, you don't get the general idea. Like you don't want to go in if you want to have any kind of followership. You don't try to be like those guys. You got to pick your own niche. And we thought, okay, our niche is kind of like fun. We like having fun. So a lot of the blogs, we'd goof around. We'd make up stuff. Like I remember an early blog that still does really good numbers every time we kind of retrot it out there is I did a blog for Steve Stone's 69th birthday in which all it features is, it talks about him a little bit, but it features all his pictures from when he was in Playgirl. And so now when we put that out there again, like every so often, it does gangbusters because it's ridiculous, right? It's a totally insane thing. One of our biggest blogs early on, and My Sox Summer and Treasy were bitching about it. They're like, man, no one knows how to line up to get in this goddamn bathroom up here in the concourse. So My Sox Summer with graphs and everything wrote a blog post about how to go to the Pister at Sox Park. And it's still like anytime we try to back out there, it does like crazy ass numbers. This is dumb shit. Anyone could do this, right? You can pick this, but no real blog is going to say, no blog that wants to be taken seriously is going to say, we're going to write an article about how to go to the Pisser. They're just not going to do it. So you always, like, our bent was always, would just not be the same as everybody else. And I think one of the things too, like we do real baseball analysis as well, but I think one of the things that helps us is we did not play high levels of baseball. So when we look at the problem, we're looking at it as a total novice. And so the other novices out there, like, oh, I kind of understand how you put those numbers together and made that table. And it's like, okay, I can kind of get that. We might not get the problem and understand it in a way where someone who has played baseball does, right? So that's fine. We know that. But we're going, my background is I'm an accountant by day. And like I said, I spent a lot of time, as being like, I guess, half my income betting on sports. So I've got the probability and the statistical stuff. So I can go in that direction, but I couldn't tell you. I don't know what the fuck I'd be looking at with someone's swing. I don't know if it's a good or bad swing. I know he missed the ball. I know that much, but otherwise I can't do it. So you kind of got to, like, in my personal opinion, is like the thing we tried to pick up was you go with your personal strengths, and then you also pick a lane that's not the lane everyone's using. And I remember early on, we were never going to do a podcast. We had the blog, which we liked, and then you could come see us in person. So people come see us, and we do videos occasionally. And we met this brewery called Baderbrow. This was back 2017-ish era, something like that. And, their marketing guy really liked us. He's like, we got to do something together. He goes, you guys are hilarious on Twitter. We love this shit. Let's do it. So My Sox Summer and I are sitting around in my backyard. We're like, what the hell? How are we going to, we're not podcast guys. I mean, we've become podcast people, but we're like, we don't know. And he's like, I got it. We'll do a video from your hot tub and we'll talk about the game in the hot tub. It's a great idea. So we called it the Sunday Soak, and we sold it to Baderbrow. I said, Baderbrow, would you like to be the sponsor of this? And the guy's like, absolutely, we would. So we had a relationship for like 2 years with Baderbrow. Unfortunately for us, we drank them out of business. They didn't exist anymore. And we had like no beer sponsor for our Sunday Soak. And at the time, we were just doing blog and just doing Sunday Soak. And we're like, well, we're going to keep doing the Sunday Soak, And then we got super lucky. A good friend of ours, a guy who's a part of the crew, the 108 crew, Aloha Mr. Hand, he happened to be playing golf with Brooks Boyer. And Brooks Boyer's like, I want to meet these 108 guys. These 108 guys? And he's like, yeah, they're like some of my best friends. Like, I'll arrange a meetup with you. So Brooks came down and met us in the stands during a fucking game and bought us beers for like 2 hours and wanted to hear the whole goddamn story and all this stuff, right? So we kind of had become a little friendly with Brooks. So fast forward to the off season, I think it was before the 2019 season, and we get message, and Brooks like, look, I want you guys to come to a meeting at the stadium. You're going to come in the conference room, and legitimately, it's myself, my Sox and Treasy, 3 knuckleheads, in a boardroom at Sox Park with Brooks Boyer and his team, and then the Goose Island team. And the reason they wanted to do it is because the new Goose Island was coming up right next to us. They were gentrifying our section. We had made it a cool party, and then they built condos right next to us. So they were like, well, can we do some sort of bit or whatever? And in that meeting, my Sox owner was able to convince them they should pick up the Sunday Soak. You guys should do it. You should be the full-time sponsor, all this stuff. And it's been a great relationship ever since. Doing a piece of content with something weird that no one's doing a fucking hot tub show.
Yeah.
It's just an oddball idea. And the reason we did it is because that's all we had. We don't know what we're doing. It's like, okay, let's just do this because that's what we got. So the way the 108ers think about content sometimes doesn't line up well with mainstream, but we seem to be okay with it because I guess it's something original or fresh. And like when it hits out there, we know pretty quick if people like it or if it's shit. We've had some shitty ideas we've had to throw out too. It's like, oh, this is a unique idea to work. And it's like, this sucks. No one wants it.
Well, it's funny because I literally have this conversation often. Me and Jems often, because obviously we have this podcast, so we'll talk a lot. And then obviously we get together with like the Anomalies, who are like the other guys that we started this network with. And like the one thing I tell Jems a lot, and I reiterate to a group is like, authenticity seems to be like the thing. Like, I mean, if we're authentic, it doesn't really matter what we're doing. As long as we're being authentic to ourselves, people are going to either like us or not like us, and that's fine. But we're going to get the people who do like us are going to really like us. Like, so, I mean, it seems like kind of like what you guys almost stumbled to on accident in a weird way.
Yeah, they are all kind of happy accidents. Like, let's just try it. And then the other thing, don't be afraid to try some shit. Like, like a hot tub show, no one's like, that's a guaranteed idea will fucking work, or who knew the tournament would become kind of thing it is. I mean, other thing too that we got a lot of mileage out of, the Sox did a $1 hot dog promotion on Wednesday nights. And so we did a competition. So it's like, here, tweet me your pictures, tag it like this. We had a fucking leaderboard of people who were, and we actually, what's funny is that year that we did that competition, and then obviously COVID kind of killed it next year. We had Brooks Boyer on our podcast, and he messaged me before. He's like, Beef, make sure you got the top 5 leaders in the hot dog contest. I want you to talk about them while we're doing the podcast. It's like, they're fucking, of course they're paying attention. We're promoting this shit that they're doing, So like sometimes having a nice, friendly partnership works. I mean, another thing with us with the content is we've always kind of been friendly with others in the community. Yeah. And we've gotten good breaks from people. Like early on when we were just an up and coming thing and a blog, and maybe some people thought we were funny, Josh Nelson from Sox Machine, they had their audience. They wanted to join together and do these, after parties of Sox Fest. So Sox Fest would happen, the normal shit. And then you'd go to the underground media party, and it would be us and them. And it'll be some sort of panel that was organized and be at a spot. We did it at Bader Brow one year. We did it Buffalo Wings and Rings. We most recently, at the beginning of 2020, we did it at Reggie's, and you couldn't get in there. Like it was 150 people max, and we sold tickets, but not dollar wise. People donated. Yeah. We were getting texts the day of, like, dude, you got to get me in the door. Like, we're friends. You got to fucking get me in there, And it kind of became a bit of a thing. We had media people on the panels. Like, on the 108 panel, we had Herb Lawrence and Lawrence Holmes. And then on the Sox Machine panel was, like, James Fegan and Connor McKnight and, that some of that group. So we kind of mix, like, morons like us and then also, like, legitimate media people in there. So you get a little flavor of everything. But yeah, we just had like, some of it is the authenticity you're talking about. Yeah. And some of it is just the ball just bounced the right way for us. Like we didn't crap out that time. Like the dice rolled perfect for us that one time too.
Well, we do this. We do Sox Fest. They canceled Sox Fest. You guys had the 108 Fest, which kind of probably came from that idea that you guys did previous years. And you had a panel this year.
We did, yeah. So we had to take all of these, like we normally do a Festivus party. We had to take that online. We normally had the Sox Fest after party. Since we were doing it on our YouTube channel, we did the 108 Fest. And we had mainstream media and we had people. And sometimes in these things, we just have people that we like or think are fun or, we were actually at the beginning of the pandemic, we did a a special Zoom-based video that we're doing on YouTube called 3 Things, where we just invite people from Sox Twitter that we knew that we liked them. It's like, let's do like a half-hour interview with them. We'll ask a question, they ask a question, we'll kind of go around the room and talk a little bit. And people really liked catching those. They're like, oh, I didn't really know that person that well, but the 30 minutes where they got to talk a little bit, it's like, oh shit, I got to know them. But like you're saying, the 108 Fest was a monster. I mean, Lucas Giolito's dad, was a treasure. He fucking bodied me like 4 times during the discussion because I kept telling him Cease is no good. And he's like, you know what you're talking about. But then he was like our dad. He was giving us great advice just in general in life, and he's just a sweetheart of a guy. So you know, sometimes you get into these things and you're like, we'll get this guest because they're famous and people will know who they are. But this was one of those ones where it's just like, I could have just like sat there and listened to him talk the whole rest of the thing. I was like, too bad the guy had to leave. You know?
He was on, what did I hear him on the other day? It might have been Parkins and Spiegel. It was either that or Bernstein or Rahimi. And I had to sit in the car to let him finish the interview because he's so good.
He's incredible. He's just like a very smart, thoughtful, older gentleman. Is like, and that's kind of like, I like that from the perspective of like, he's been through a bunch of stuff. I want to hear what do you think about this? What do you have to say? Give me some of that knowledge you got there. You know, I loved all that stuff.
That's the thing that I love about the media that we all do. I mean, obviously you have a podcast, we have a podcast, is like you get to hear different people's perspectives. So I work in a field where like I'm by myself 90% of the time. So like I usually have like podcasting, I'm listening to something, but I'm hearing like different people from all over, like kind of like give their personality. So it's like almost like being around people and getting like a flavor of like everybody. But so like I feel like I'm a better person just by listening to other people, even if it's just a fun podcast or, you know, it may be like an educational podcast, it may be whatever, but like you feel like you're just like included in this thing. Like they're like, this is like free college. Like if you really like, if I could get a college credit for like listening to podcasts, I guarantee you I'd have one by now because like, but like, I feel like I'm a better person because of it. Cause I have like all these, I would never interact with like you on a normal basis. I just like, correct. I live in Colorado, you live in Chicago. Like, you know, I mean, our paths probably wouldn't cross other than the fact that, but we do have this common ground that we both like baseball and like Jems is a White Sox fan. So somehow like the forces like brought it together. But like, I feel like that's the biggest thing about this media. And I think that's why it grows too, the authenticity of people, but then also just like the fact that you can kind of like really like, it took the thing that like, I know people, Jems might not remember this because he's just had his entire life with the internet and Wi-Fi, but like when the internet came around and like social media started, and people were like, oh, it's going to make everybody like so isolated and they're going to live in their little thing and no one's going to know anyone. But I think like that's what podcasts do, is like it actually introduces you out to people in that way, like instead of like it just being so tight.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree with it. It helps you develop empathy for other perspectives of life that you haven't experienced yourself, or other things that people are into that you're not necessarily into, and you might hear it as like your podcast name, Off the Rails, is perfect because you can go in directions and go down a path. It's one of the things I love most about podcasts. You set out to say, okay, we're gonna do a sports podcast. We're gonna talk about sports. But then 5 minutes into it, you're getting something interesting where you're like, fuck, I want to go down this path. I don't care about, you know, what the White Sox lineup is today. Let's fucking talk about, you know, on our podcast, let's talk about gilfs, or let's talk about whatever kind of candy is like your favorite. I don't know. Like whatever shit. Helen Mirren. It's a great call.
Hey, by the way, Helen Mirren, great. Also like right behind Renee Russo though. Like
right in there.
Right in there.
Respect.
Fantasy threesome, right? No, I mean, that's true though. That's literally like the best thing. Is like also like I think like so like for me, like if you did like a demographic of who like should follow you, like me and Jems are both left-handed Lions fans. Like first off, there's probably not many of us that are Lions fans, and there's not as many lefties than you should. We've literally not had a single left-handed guest. We were just talking about this last.
Really?
Wow. We try. Yeah,
I am not left-handed. No, not left-handed.
My wife actually said we forgot to ask a couple guests.
Did we? Oh,
said she called me out on it. She's like she runs our Instagram now because you know. Yeah. And she's actually listens and will call me out on stuff. She's texted me during podcasts to call me out on something.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because my wife, Mrs. Beefloaf, and then Treesy's wife, they watch all of our stuff and listen to podcasts. And we actually had my wife on because my wife has her own business and she does like corporate coaching and she coached us up on our podcast technique and also our visuals because we're on YouTube, and she convinced us all to buy ring lights. So I have a ring light on right now. Obviously, this isn't a broadcast which people could see, but you can see I am extremely well lit right now because my wife gave us some of all these tips. So, in a podcast, you have they have the latitude to go in all directions that you want to and explore all kinds of fun stuff. And that's why I never, like, when we were first doing our podcast, our fucking podcast is like 3 hours long. And if we had a guest, it was 3.5 or 4 hours. It was obnoxious. So we're like, okay, we got to reel it in a little bit. But even at this point, we're 90 minutes to 2 hours because we like the long form. We want if we're going to talk about a topic, let's get in on it. Let's talk about it. I don't want to do the 10 p.m. news version of this shit. I want to do the version where we get in on it and you could tell me, what, that idea is full of shit. Or, I like that idea. Let's go further in that direction. And what do you think about this? They're a little more back and forth. I think you get more out of it, right? We're not trained in media, the 108 guys. So our real value is, one, make you laugh, and two, dig in on a topic in which our perspective might be a little different than all the other shit you're hearing about. Yeah. And we also, because we're kind of dumb guys, you might be able to relate the way we're talking about it. You might say, oh, yeah, we try to use a lot of analogies because it's like, compare something in life that people understand to this topic they don't understand. And maybe you can marry it together. People are like, oh, I get the point now.
Well, I think that's actually perfect because like we had the same thing. We get guests on and we're like, oh shit. Like, and the good thing for us is so far, fingers crossed, and hopefully I'm not speaking out of turn, but like, we'll like be like, oh, we're going to go like, we'll tell a guest, like, they'll be like, we actually really don't ever ask guests how long they can go, which is probably not good etiquette, but we probably should do that.
We forget more than anything. It's not like we're like, let's not ask.
Yeah. But then we've had like guests where like we have, and like all of them have gone long with us. And then we're like, oh, we're so sorry. And they're like, no, actually, I was just having fun. It was so good. Like so it's like you get people going and they're like, oh yeah, I want to talk. And maybe that's a symptom of like COVID because we've been only a podcast in the COVID era, but like maybe people just want more interaction because they don't get it as much. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's but it's just fun to like, hear about the other people's perspective and hear like random, like, especially like Jems I know Jems, we talk a lot. I find stuff out about him all the time. I found out he knew a lot about emo music last podcast. I mean, I'm an emo fan, but he knew more than I thought he knew. Like, we did a random emo draft in the middle of our thing, just on the fly.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Those are like the best kind of drafts and stuff, though. Like you get into a podcast. We've done it a couple of times where we'll start talking about something and be like, we need like a record scratch, like soundboard. Because then we're like, all right, draft.
Yeah, and the whole thing started. We were talking. So back to kind of like what just started that thing was I had texted or not texted. I had tweeted out to Josh Eppard, who is the drummer for Coheed and Cambria. Because online, I was literally trying to find a left-handed guest. I was like, "Who's left-handed?" Like, and we were doing like that. We did a left-handed Mount Rushmore last podcast, and I was
nice.
I was like, famous left-handed people, and it was like famous drummers. For some reason, I don't know why it's the first thing that came up. And Josh Eppard was like the second one, and I was like, "Oh shit!" I was like, "I love Coheed and Cambria. I didn't know he was left-handed." So I had like tweeted. I was like, just found out Josh Eppard's left-handed. Definitely going to try to get him on the podcast now. It's going to make it my mission in life. And like he like tweeted back and he was like, sorry, not left-handed actually. And I was like, shit. But
you're like, fuck.
Yeah. So then that spurred into like, we were talking about that on the podcast because it was funny. And then Jems just out of nowhere was like, do you know how much talent was in the Traveling Wilburys band? And then we're like, let's do it. Like, I was like, I wonder what that would equate to in like the emo world if you made an emo version. And then it was like, emo Traveling Wilburys draft again. Just random.
I'm impressed that you guys can do it spur of the moment draft like that. Like, when we do a draft on our show, it's like we send the agenda around like the week before. It's like, all right, we're doing a draft. Make sure you got at least like 15 so that when you dump your list, you could say all these extra ones or whatever. And then we'll always get through it. And then our fans are like, you fucked up. You missed that one. Like,
oh, yeah.
It always creates conversation, but it's like, man, I always feel ill-prepared for our draft. Even when I'm like, I really know this subject. I got all these things down. And then like in the second round, one of my partners will take something. I'm like, man, I should have had that. I knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun though. Like I guess it helps that it's me and Jems. It's just two of us, so like I can almost like strong arm him into like doing a draft, or he can strong arm me into doing a draft. Because I mean, it's on. We're doing the podcast, so it's on. So like people are gonna hear you bitch out if like you're like, I don't really want to do that draft.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
I'm confident I can figure anything out. It might take me trying to like split my concentration between talking and Googling stuff.
Yeah, that might be a left-handed trait. Maybe.
Oh, yeah, you could be right. You could be right about
We always have to adapt to everything
brain.
else in the world, you know.
Another left-handed trait is getting your arm stuck in machinery and dying because we are like, I think our lifespan's like 7 years less than right-handed people or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't be.
Oh, I never knew that.
Yeah,
holy.
Well, I think that a lot of those 27 people, you know, the 27 thing. I think a lot of those guys were left-handed, so that probably brings our age down a little bit.
True, yeah. Cobain and Hendrix for sure.
Yeah. So that probably doesn't help us. We did have Helen Keller though. I found that out. So
I was unaware.
Which also, in a weird way, added on to her plight in life. You know what I mean? She was like deaf, dumb, blind, also left-handed. So I mean,
had one other thing against her. Yeah,
they were like, that's not enough. Here you go. You can't use scissors, so have fun.
That left-handed thing's not enough to make a story about you, but your whole blind and deaf thing. Well, okay, we'll take that.
Yeah. You know. So yeah, that's pretty funny though.
Back to you getting bodied by Rick Giolito. Was that worse than Jeff Passan?
No, nothing's ever worse than getting bodied by Jeff Passan. It's kind of funny, you know, way back in the day, I wrote a blog about it. Like, he blocked me for some mundane comment or something. I made fun of him because he was like complaining about getting his suit wet from covering a team and like they're spraying champagne or whatever. And then I realized I was blocked, and so like I tweeted that a little bit, and some people that I know, followers on Twitter, is like, oh, I know him. I'll reach out and I'll put in a good word for you, whatever. And so then like he reached out, he unblocked. He's like, I just thought it'd be funny to block a guy whose name is Beefloaf. You know, you're back, you're fine. You know. And then like I kind of like put that out there one more time. Like a year later ish, and he's like, no, I blocked you because you suck. And his you know how he does when he bodies anyone, his mentions go absolutely berserk, you know. So anytime I would like mention him or whatever, and last year during the 108 tourney, I had this picture where I'm like laying on the ground like I'm devastated, and I have like no ass muscles. I have the flattest, worst, most terrible male ass that anyone has ever had.
I might be second. So
it's captured in this picture. And of course, Jeff comes out of nowhere. Jeff doesn't follow me, and I didn't fucking name him, but he found me somehow, and he bodies me on that thing. So sometimes I'll go after him a little bit. I'll just like sort of nudge him on some shit. And I had found the picture of him where he's bald, like it's a fake bald picture of him, and then that's how I got him back out of the word. But no, it's I think it's really funny that he does that, and I don't mind. I don't give a shit. I love stuff like that. I love messing with people and having people mess back on Twitter, and so that's kind of like a fun rivalry. There are people actually Sunday night. The Sox were on ESPN, and some of the Sox Twitter people were tweeting like, "Is Jeff Passan going to body you on air, on like live on air on ESPN?" Like, I don't think so. I'm sure.
Like, also, it would be awesome.
Part of it would be awesome. Part of it would be like, "What the fuck? I'm just trying to watch this game."
It's funny that you said he blocked you because actually, when we did my podcast, I actually got Jems unblocked by Pat McAfee. So
yes. Nice, good work.
Yeah.
Really, no idea on how I got blocked to begin with. Like a theory, but we just like had this mini Twitter uprising, and I got back in his good graces. Pretty quick too.
Yeah. So it was pretty interesting. Yeah. So I got because Pat follows me, so like somehow like it was like I was like, I don't know why Jems is blocked, but he's actually a really good guy. Like I wrote this like little blurb, and then like literally Jems like texted me like 5 minutes later. He's like, I think Pat just unblocked me. I was like, sweet.
I just envisioned someone like that name searching you because he's got so many people blocked. Like, all right, well, who's the one I need to unblock?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, to be honest, I never thought of that, but yeah, the effort he had to go through to unblock you is pretty impressive. Meaningful.
That it was just me and the other guy that I think got me blocked.
guilt by association, you know.
That's right. You're running a bad crowd.
Yeah, no. But yeah, no, that's the thing I love about social media though. It's like it's fun. Like, I mean, when else are you gonna like? I mean, Pat McAfee follows me on Twitter, and then I've had a couple phone conversations with him too. But like, where the fuck else would I have ever ran into Pat McAfee?
Right.
You know what I mean? Or like, you know, I produce a NFL podcast with NFL players. That's kind of from the Pat McAfee thing. But like, when the fuck else would that happen? You know what I mean? Like, you gotta love it.
Yeah, I mean, kind of the nice thing too is, not just COVID, but overall, like you can meet these people on the internet, and then sometimes it's worthwhile meeting up in person, and you kind of become real life in person acquaintances or friends, which is just kind of a nice thing about the internet to connect people up enough to create these relationships, like you're saying. You know, even just acquaintance relationships, even just like, oh yeah, I'll shoot them a message once in a while, or they shoot me one when they see something that that they know I like or whatever. It just it definitely adds to life. I mean, it adds the spice of life right there.
And it's weird too, because I mean, like if you think about it too deep, I'm like, I've met you in person as many times as I've met Jems in person. Zero. But, you know what I mean? Like, I've never met Jems in person, but I talk to him every day.
It's funny that you say that, because just this past weekend, one of the comedians that we had on I think it was right at the beginning of the year, Todd McComas, who used to be on Pat's show and he was on Barstool and stuff before that. We went and saw him in South Bend, and like my wife and I brought him pies.
Awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Yeah, that's the kind of connection you can make, kind of that you would never ever like have that little bit of a connection where you can kind of get in there and say, oh, okay, we're friendly, we like each other, we did some stuff together. Yeah, it's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy too, because like by the way, his wife is like, she needs to make it as a business, because like I've seen them, they look amazing, but they're called pie holes. Is that what they're called? Pie holes?
It was a business up until we had kids. Yeah, they're just miniature pies. They're like cupcake size, but they're pies.
They need to make them come back.
They're smaller than a tart. They're just like a cupcake tin and pie size.
Wow.
Pie in a cupcake size tin. Yeah.
That sounds awesome, actually.
When we were rolling into it deep, we were doing like 40 different flavors, and we were catering stuff every weekend and doing a lot of farmers markets and stuff.
And they look amazing too. But yeah, so
sounds great. What was your favorite flavor, or maybe give me your top 3 that you really enjoyed?
I think my favorite was probably salted caramel chocolate.
Oh wow!
Which was like a chocolate ganache with some like caramel drizzle and stuff. It was really good. She also did a s'mores one that was pretty awesome, and she just made blueberry this weekend for Todd, and that just reminded me how awesome blueberry pie is.
Oh, nice.
But like she did standard like apple pie. They're all fantastic. Super tender.
I love it. Yeah, that's what I was hoping for. You go down the path a little bit, get the juices flowing there on the delicious pies. That sounds terrific.
See now, Jems lives probably close enough to you that if you ever meet up, he'll just make his wife make them for you, and then he'll disappoint her by telling her that it's not an actual pie, that she has to make them, and then she'll hate it.
Yeah, because I asked her, I said, hey, to thank Todd for coming on the podcast, I'll text him and see what kind of pies he likes. She's like, all right. And I said pies, plural. So I was thinking she knew I meant pie holes.
Yeah.
And so I told her, and she's like, all right. And then we were talking like 2 days beforehand. And I was like, yeah, I'll fill the tins and stuff. And she's like, wait a minute. Pie holes?
Although that's kind of on her, though. I mean, if you're famous for making a certain type of pie, like you should just know that when people say pie, they mean that.
She felt tricked, though. She felt like you were tricking her on this.
Yeah,
I hoodwinked her.
That's hilarious.
I still have the banner that we used to hang up, that whenever I get this room actually set up down here.
Uh-oh. Did you lose Jems'
logo with our phone number?
I thought I lost. You like went.
I was still talking, and I could see myself moving clearly, and then you guys were frozen.
Yeah, it's like the opposite for us.
I was just sitting real still like this. I just didn't want you to know.
That'd be hilarious. That'd be like that's an ultimate troll move. That'd be great. I was gonna say this has been like one of my favorite podcasts so far, to be honest with you. Just because like I figured we were gonna talk a lot of baseball, but then it's always enjoyable when we just talk about other things that aren't what I think we're gonna talk about. But do we want to bring it back to baseball with the draft?
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm down. I'm game for this. Yeah, I'm game for whatever you guys want to do. You have rolled out the carpet. I'm happy to dance on it in any way you'd like.
I half jokingly with Jems one time was like, I sort of want to be like a world record holder. And then he was like, really? And I was like, yeah. I was like, I don't know what I'd do. And then one day we were like, we should just do the world's longest podcast. And then I realized that's like a stupid ass goal. But like, if we ever do the world's longest podcast, we're just gonna have you on as a guest.
It sounds good. I'll come on for a couple 3 hours. Is it okay if I get like stupidly drunk? Because right now I'm keeping it.
You're good.
I'm having a couple cocktails right now. Nothing too serious, but you know.
No, I've been pretty tipsy on one of these podcasts or two.
So you guys are hosting, so you can't get too outlandish. I can, and plus I have no reputation. So
see, I used to work in the wine business, so I can hold my liquor pretty well. Actually, as a matter of fact, we just had family members, the ones I'm going to go visit for their wedding. They came in this weekend for my daughter's birthday, and they were like, "Oh, we should do shots." And I was like, I got to work at like 4 a.m. And it's like my first day back from vacation. But I mean, I guess like I'll go hard today, and then I can recover tomorrow or whatever. And then like the next day, they were like, are you going to sleep? And I was like, I was going to. And they were like, oh, we were going to do some shots. And I was like, all right. And I just went over and poured a shot. And like, I knocked out 2. And I was like, I thought we were doing shots. And they were like, oh, you meant like now? I was like, you said shots? Like, what? So then I just started pouring everybody shots. And I was like, let's go. And I was like 5 in. And they were like, you have to work tomorrow? And I was like, I am not even feeling this at all. Like I don't know. Like, I'm going to have to do like 5 more of these. Like, so yeah,
I would feel it, but so what? I'd enjoy it.
It's the only downside. It's like it's so bad that like I mean I definitely could have gone one way or the other. Like I could definitely be an alcoholic, or I could definitely just be like, man, that buzz doesn't hit me. So I guess like I'll just do it for fun a little bit. Like every now and then, like I'll some kind of liquor will just like it'll hit me, and I'll be oh yeah, I remember this feeling. This is what I want. Like.
Well, I think there's a middle ground there, and it's called functioning alcoholic.
Yeah, yes,
that's probably what. But I'll go ages without drinking. Like until this weekend, I hadn't drank for probably like 4 or 5 months. I hadn't had a single drink. Like,
oh, nice.
I'm just like, but like, actually, that's not true. I think the 2 podcasts before I had like a shot of whiskey. But other than that, like, I have like so much liquor on top of my fridge though that I'm like literally like I look at it and I'm like I'll do a shot and then I'm like. Yeah, that didn't really do anything for me. I guess I probably just shouldn't keep drinking this right now.
You're out.
I'm the same way where I'll go a long time without drinking, and I drink a lot up until I probably my first or second year of marriage, like from like 18 to like 25 probably. But like this month, I have my best friend coming from Atlanta. I have a buddy coming who lives in England or the UK somewhere now. So like I have a bunch of people visiting this month. So I know this will be a month for drinking.
By the way, and I think it was episode 2 of this podcast. Jems told me that there's such thing called Jared drunk or something like that.
Yeah, it's
that is friend. It's bad when your friends have termed that. Like if other people get drunk, you're like, oh, you're Jared drunk.
Yeah, so. They like ask for it too. Like if they know I don't drink that much, are you gonna get drunk tonight? I was like, I sure as fuck hope not. A lot of it, my wife says I get real annoying, but I want to go do stuff. Like if I'm in like a city or something where I can adventure out after I start drinking, like that's perfect for me.
Just walk around.
Just let you run wild.
Yeah, like in college, my freshman year, I had an apartment in Yorkville. I don't know if you're familiar, just west of Chicago, and we were close enough to like the gas station, but as soon as everybody was leaving the apartment and stuff, I was wandering to the gas station to just get a snack that I probably already had in my apartment, but I wanted to go walk somewhere.
Jared's a fascinating human being. First off, he's a volunteer firefighter.
Oh.
He works in a steel mill. Is that correct?
Yeah, and
he used to operate a crane, but now he's not doing that anymore. I learned that last episode.
Damn.
You
And
can probably see our pollution from your house. I mean, we're right there in Northwest Indiana.
I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
it's probably the best fact that other than the fact he's left-handed is he's a Hall of Fame wiffle ball player.
Oh, I was unaware of this. Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
That might have just boosted your odds to get in this tournament next year.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I mean, can we get some can we get a little video of this or something?
I got pictures. I did agree to play in the. So me and a buddy from high school started a league in like 2007 because he built a field in his backyard called Migley. So it's like a miniature Wrigley. It's actually really cool for what it is.
Yeah.
And
you could tell Jems' hate for the Cubs was coming out.
and so,
he didn't want to give the compliment. He's like, yeah, it's fine, whatever.
so I played in that for like, I don't know, 10 years or something.
Yeah.
And then he also has a big tournament every year in New Carlisle, which is just east of South Bend.
Okay.
And they have like 80 teams that come to it and stuff, and we've been doing that forever.
Wow.
Yeah. So like wiffle ball in our area is a big deal. There's a huge wiffle ball tournament, I think Skokie or some shit too. The World Wiffle Ball Championships is there.
Like I'm trying to envision this. Like how fast did someone in a competitive wiffle ball game? How fast are they throwing the ball?
Well, this is all slow pitch wiffle ball. So
Slow pitch. Okay, got it. Okay.
I think there is I know that there's a shit ton of leagues that pop up now, and they might have been around, but now with Twitter, you see everybody has their own group of Twitters for their fucking leagues. But I think like Hammond or East Chicago or something has like a fast pitch league.
I think Jems, did you just become a team owner again?
I started playing again.
Oh, okay.
I'm on the roster this year again.
Got you.
Which means
Jems used to be a team owner too.
You gotta stretch it out. You gotta get it. You got the calisthenics going.
I was the team owner of the Pterodactyls, and then later on the Taco Punchers.
Yeah.
Like you stay with the T named themes there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so that's the kind of brain you're going up against.
I like this, Jems. I like this.
I also drafted Ned Flanders was on my Mount Rushmore of left-handed people. So
that's true. By the way, he put 2 Simpson characters on his or not 2 Simpson characters. The creator of the Simpsons, who he stole from me, but whatever. The one dude, he was like, I don't think I'll have anyone on my list that you'll have, and he was like, I'm gonna take Matt Groening. I was like, fuck. It's like he time travels. What the fuck? No, I won't. But yeah. So, Jems, do you want to explain the draft that we're about to do?
Yeah. So it's a 5-round snake draft, or as Tone likes to say, serpentine draft.
Yeah, I do.
And we're gonna draft, and you can draft these in no particular order: 1 pitcher, 1 batter, 1 manager, 1 announcer, and then 1 like food or drink, like a ballpark food or drink.
Nice.
So
we can do this kind of in any direction we want, right?
Doesn't matter.
Okay,
pretty much. So, can I get this again? So we have 1 pitcher, 1 batter, 1 coach or GM,
manager, head coach.
Okay,
it's manager because it's baseball.
And then 1
announcer. I would say this is all baseball oriented.
Yeah.
And then 1 like food or drink you can get at the ballpark.
Yeah. Sweet.
And so we let our guests pick which position they want to draft in. So
remember, it's a serpentine draft.
Oh man, I mean, like I was to say, we do snake drafts on the 108 podcast. Sometimes we mix them in there here or there. I think the last one we did we did one recently with like Australian things for Liam Hendricks being signed with the White Sox. Which
see, I like how there's
some weird
works.
Yeah, there's some weird shit in Australia. But anyway, I want to
actually while we're at it, this is getting recorded on the 6th. Happy birthday to my nephew Finn, who is half Australian and lives in Australia. So.
Oh shit! Happy birthday, Finn!
Happy birthday, Finn! What is Finn short for?
Since Phineas. My brother named him after Phineas and Ferb. So
yes.
Which, by the way, I just found out from my daughter's 13-year-old best friend that apparently there's a conspiracy theory about Phineas and Ferb where all of the characters are dead except for one of the characters. One of the Phineas or Ferb's dead. One of them's dead, and then the other one's seeing ghosts. I don't know if that's true or not, but
it sounds wild.
I let her tell me the entire thing, and I was like, I mean, I guess I don't know.
Tone, if you could give me the YouTube link to all that story, I'll check it out.
Okay. Yeah. I'll shoot it over to you. I got to see it myself. I got to explain to me from a 13-year-old, so I don't know how accurate it is, but.
Probably lots of likes.
It's probably right on the money. We're old. We don't understand. So I feel totally confident shooting 1-1. I'm happy to go first. I know on my podcast, my partners, they never want to go first. I like going 1-1. I'll go first. I don't care.
You actually get the worst spot. You just took the worst spot.
That's fine because
it's only 5 rounds, so you get the last pick and the first pick.
Yeah. No, actually, that to me, that's fine. Yeah, no problem.
I like that. I like that confidence.
Tone, you can choose your position.
I'll take the middle just because what the hell? I think I always end up with first or third, so it'd be nice to be second. For some reason, every guest we have chooses the second position almost every time.
It's like they're being nice or something.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. I'm usually like to go first or like the wheel. I like the end.
Yeah,
that's kind of where I usually sit with that.
I don't like the first pick because I don't like one bad time I took Dante Culpepper in a fantasy football league, had the first pick, and he got hurt week 1. So I was like, never again. I just want whoever falls to me. I don't care.
I was thinking about Dante Culpepper this offseason because the Sox brought in Jonathan Lucroy in spring training, and it was like I remember I kept drafting Miami Dolphins Dante Culpepper like he was Minnesota Vikings Dante Culpepper. I'm like, fuck, I'm as dumb as the Sox bringing in Jonathan Lucroy who's toast now. Like I was drafting the Dante Culpepper who had no legs, high.
Yeah, by the way,
you had a decent spring though, surprisingly.
He did. He was actually good in the spring. Surprised me.
I thought he was going to make the team.
I was going to say, you know how crazy it is? We literally were just talking about Miami Dolphins, Dante Culpepper, because I think in the last episode I was talking about how if Drew Brees would have went to Miami, maybe like Nick Saban doesn't go to Alabama and the whole NFL changes. But yeah, it's kind of that's a weird one.
I don't remember this.
Maybe that was like 5 episodes ago. All the episodes run together for me, but I just say everything was in the last episode because then everyone's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go listen to that," and then they'll be like, well, "That's it." But we really did do an emo draft last episode, so that did actually happen.
So for anyone listening that wants to hear that, get your ass back in there in that last episode.
I mean, to be fair, I took with my first pick in that draft a Chicago guy in Patrick Stump from Fall Out Boy. So, I mean,
I know absolutely nothing about emo, but I have heard of Fall Out Boy. I'm not that old. I have heard of them.
I'm old enough to know that my kids think Fall Out Boy is a completely different band than I think they are. They think they're like the Anthemy band, and I'm like, no, they're this emo band. Guys, go fuck yourselves.
It's the sidekick in Radioactive Man from The Simpsons, too.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think about that. That was a good callback. By the way, Jems is clearly a big Simpsons guy, so
it taught me a
Jems,
lot.
how do you feel about Family Guy?
I enjoy Family Guy. I haven't seen as much of the Family Guys as I have like The Simpsons because like from birth to probably 16, I religiously watch The Simpsons. But I do really enjoy Family Guy too.
When I was a kid, it was like Fox was like the new channel that was showing interesting shit. And it had The Simpsons on it, like 7 or 7:30 or whatever. And then in Living Color on at 7:30 or 8. And that was like Jim Carrey and Damon Wayans and all these like people that became gigantic stars. And I liked In Living Color as a kid better than I liked Simpsons. And I never got really into Simpsons, I think, because of that. Because I went to that show, So.
I'm with you on that. And the crazy thing is that so we have this other show that Jems got 90s pop or 90s TV shows, and I was like, hey, what's your favorite 90s TV character? And he said Homer Simpson. And I was like, I don't even think that's a 90. I mean, technically it did run the entire 90s, but it's like, I don't like, you could put that in almost like, I'm like, is that an 80s show? I remember when it started as the Tracy Ullman show, because even when it was
the little shorts,
when it was the Simpsons already, everything in Iceland was slightly behind. So in 89, we had the Tracy Ullman show in Iceland. So I was like, so when I came to America, like, and I was like 7, 8, and it was like hot, and I was like, this is the Tracy Ullman, but better animation. Like,
go ahead. I was
gonna say my love for The Simpsons was because every day after school at like 5:30, I think it was, Fox 32 had The Simpsons on at 5:30 and 6, I think, and then Home Improvement on after that, reruns, like all throughout school.
So that's why Jems is a Lions fan, because of Tim Toolman. I'm just kidding.
Maybe.
Everyone else in his family is Packers fans, so there's got to be something. I still haven't figured it out, but
everybody else in my family are Cubs fans too. I am the only Sox fan.
Oh, I like that. You're the outlier. I love that.
That's right. So, all right, Beef. Let's see what you dial up for the first pick.
For 1-1, I gotta go first with my manager pick. Okay. And it's just because it's so clear and obvious to me that this is a guy that needs to be on the Beefloaf squad. And that's legendary Baltimore Orioles manager Earl Weaver. If you've never heard the 2 or 3 minute clip, Coach's Corner or Manager's Corner, whatever it is, on YouTube, you should go check that out right now. But recently I just did a blog because I was leafing through Earl Weaver's managing book, and I found an excerpt where he like basically curses out Steve Stone and calls him an idiot. And so you cannot buy, there's no managers like this today that not only have great success, but will just like kill someone, a famous someone. I mean, obviously Steve Stone won a Cy Young. It's not like he was some scrub, and Earl Weaver just bodied him in this entire page of his book that he put out. Like, oh, Steve Stone didn't learn, and we had to let him become a loser, and I called him a loser, and like all this shit. So Earl Weaver, easy 1-1 for me.
It's extra gangster that it was in a book too.
Exactly.
Like now you get that on like podcasts. Like people are like, "Oh, this guy sounds good." Now they like wrote it in a book, and he actually literally had to like read it. Like someone was like, "Hey, did you see he wrote something?" It's like, motherfucker, I gotta go buy that book now. All right, well, I mean that's a solid pick. I'm gonna go with my announcer first. I'm gonna take Bob Uecker.
Oh, nice pick. I like it.
You can tell I watched Major League when I was 5. Just, call back to the beginning of the show.
I heard that he likes to like hit the dump button and like talk all kinds of shit and then unrelease the dump button and then get back to the broadcast. I had heard someone was telling me that the other day. They're like, it's unreal. Like he loves to like he'll hit it and talk a bunch of stuff and swear and everything, and then he'll undo it and then get right back to what he was doing.
I remember hearing a story about that after the Tom Brenneman stuff.
Oh yeah,
that Bob Uecker is like the goat at dumping himself talking. He was like, I think the way that it had to be on the score. That's mostly what I listened to in the car. But they were like telling a story, be like, "Oh, ground ball to second," and they hit the dump button and be like, "Look at the tits on that girl in the front row," and then like without skipping a beat and just roll right through it.
That's hilarious. Now I feel extra good about picking.
Ridiculous.
For my
Jems, you got back to back here, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna. This will be a callback to a previous episode with my left-handed Mount Rushmore. I'm gonna take my batter.
Okay.
My favorite baseball player, favorite batter of all time is Ken Griffey Jr.
Oh, nice.
And then growing up.
Jems, for Ken Griffey Jr., did you enjoy the fat, bloated version that came back to the White Sox in 2008? That I don't know if you knew this, because I don't know if you attended any games in 2008. He had the Soul Glow song from Coming to America as his walk-up music in the bat. It was insane. It was just like he's making fun of himself, out there being old. But he had the big throw in the
blackout game. Yeah, I was excited. I knew he was not Ken Griffey Jr. anymore, but he was like Ken Griffey the fourth at that point. But yeah.
I still loved it too. I was still super excited. I'm like, I know he's washed. I don't give a shit. I'm glad he's on my favorite team. I just want to watch him.
Well, Kenny Williams was great about Manny Ramirez, Carl Everett like 8 times, and just bringing all these old guys. Like Nelson Cruz will play for the White Sox in 2028 when he's 49 years old.
I mean, we just spoke about Jonathan Lucroy. I mean, it's kind of, you guys got Joe Mauer in like 5 years. You guys are good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's been a ton. Just Kevin Youkilis.
Yeah. I mean,
all right. So I don't know. This might be early for my. That's not too early for my announcer. Beefloaf has mentioned him multiple times, so I'm afraid he will take him. But my all-time favorite announcer, growing up, getting home from school, being a White Sox fan, but living in a house full of Cubs fans, the Cubs were on TV every single freaking day. But Steve Stone was fantastic then. He's fantastic now. He's probably the best baseball announcer. Well, him and Jason Benetti are the best broadcast team I've ever heard.
The best duo, yeah, for sure. And what I like especially now about Stoney, Stoney's always been great at analyzing the game and analyzing in a way in which all the fans can understand. All the fans could get his points that he was trying to bring. And he'd also dazzle you by predicting what's going to happen next or what he thinks might happen. But he's getting also to the point where Benetti's so good at playing with a partner and working to their strengths. Stoney is just so chill and having so much fun. Like they genuinely have a lot of fun with each other. You crack up during the broadcast and you learn stuff, which is like the best combination in my opinion.
Definitely.
So that's absolutely a great pick. And you're right, Jems. I would have fucking picked him. So screw you for getting him.
So Steve Stone, if I didn't say it, I think it was kind of given away there.
Well, now, and I hate to give away like what I'm thinking, but now we know if Beef is smart, he picks the last pick he picks is an announcer.
The announcer, yeah. Because you guys are board locked. I can wait on my announcer.
This is how I play Risk. Clue. This is how I play Clue. I just eliminate everything. piss my wife off every time because I always.
Dude, that was funny that you just said Risk because earlier when you were talking about Goose Island and like you guys, I was like, I imagined the stadium as like a board game of Risk, and like, you guys could have either fought or like joined forces, and I was like, that's pretty. Dude,
that is kind of what we did. We did like a little bit leading up to the season about how we hated them and all this stuff, and then we took this great picture of Treasy E's like shaking hands with TJ Anarino, who's actually the kind of like their head of marketing, exploratory marketing, I think is what they call it. But he's a guy with a vision. Let's just put it that way. And there's like this great picture of them like over because there's like a water thing in the middle, and they're like, yeah, holding hands, like shaking hands and shit. You know?
By the way, I want any job title that has exploratory in it. I don't even care. Like we'll just figure. I'm gonna figure that out. I'm gonna no, but I also want to say I know this is baseball themed, but had it not been baseball themed, I was picking Rebecca Lobo as my announcer because I think she's one of the best. I think she's one of the best announcers. Same thing like you guys were saying about Stone. I was like, she like dumbs it down enough for people who didn't play the game, but also like you learn something from it at the same time. And also she's just really good with anybody they put her with, it seems like. So, but low key, I'm a WNBA fan too.
Nice.
All right, so dang, now I got to figure out which. I was so wrapped up in you guys explaining that, and I kind of almost got mad, even though I'm not a White Sox fan, that Jems took Ken Griffey Jr. because I feel like him and Frank Thomas were like rivals at the same time, and you should have took Frank Thomas, but whatever. I'm gonna take my pitcher, I think, and I'm gonna take Tim Lincecum because he was my favorite pitcher all time.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know why. I'm not a Giants fan, but I just love the way that dude pitched. And he's not even left-handed either, which is kind of disappointing. But
yeah, that's bad on you not picking lefty.
I know.
You know, the freak. That's what they call him, the freak, when he came up, because he had this wild motion and he never iced or any of that. And his peak of when he was the best was absolutely fucking insane. It was like, wow, this, and then, well, it kind of went downhill quick after that. But regardless, he was fucking terrific for the window in which the Giants were winning some World Series.
I think of Tim Lincecum all the time too, because my brother like tags me in anything Tim Lincecum whenever it comes up. I don't know why on Facebook. So my Facebook memories every other day has like something Tim Lincecum in it for some. I don't know why, but my favorite one is, and I just recently saw it, was when Colorado made marijuana legal. And it was like him at a press conference, and it was like, I'm signing with the Rockies.
That's awesome.
And I was like, yeah, I mean, yeah. Him and Barry Zito together had to be like two of the highest pitching stats ever.
I love it.
By the way, Barry Zito was also like low-key my second favorite pitcher of all.
And he's soft tosser too. I like that. You don't see a lot of the soft tossing guys these days.
He was a lefty. I almost took him just because I was like, I almost got to represent the lefties, but I didn't.
And he's a musician. That's like right up your alley.
No.
Oh, shoot, man. Nice.
Yeah, no. You know.
All right.
Okay. I should. Now I'm like regretting picking Tim Lincecum.
Yeah, you screwed up right there.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm gonna go with my pitcher first here on this turnaround, and I'm gonna go with a pitcher who had a tremendous peak. Guy who came up as a young stud. I may have mentioned him earlier in this podcast. He might have gotten a little bit too much into the yayo, kind of messed up the middle part of his career. Came back a little bit triumphant with the Yankees and threw a no-hitter. I'm going to go with Doc Gooden because Doc Gooden was like, oh my God, this is unbelievable. I can't believe there's a pitcher like this when I'm like 8 or 9 years old. Like the kid, he's 19 or he's 20 years old and he's dominating the major leagues. And it's like, I can't even now, I can't even conceptualize how someone can get to the majors by 19. Like, how do they get through? They're not even done with high school barely. And it's like, you're up there and 60,000 people and you're striking out 18 guys in that game. So, I mean, Doc Gooden's always been kind of that unbelievable. It's like that era of athlete to me, like, you know, obviously it was Jordan, but watching Jordan go against like Dominique Wilkins was an incredible athlete. It's like, this guy's like the 8th best player in the NBA. It's like, holy shit. Like, what am I watching as a kid? You know, so Doc Gooden, easily my pitcher.
By the way, I feel bad that he got caught up with the yayo. He probably would have been one of the greatest of all time. But by the way, are you a comedy fan? Do you know stand-up comedy at all?
I do not know.
There's a comedian, Theo Vaughn, and he's sober now, but he's like real country. But his entire story about like why he stopped doing coke was he showed up to like a radio interview after like a bender, and Daryl Strawberry was there, and he was like, I knew it was bad when Daryl Strawberry was less fucked up than I was. So that caused him to like quit cold turkey.
Yeah, those 86 Mets were wild. I mean, that whole team, Strawberry and Keith Hernandez and Lenny Dykstra. I mean, like, once you start naming down the roster, you're like, wow, these guys are all a mess. Like, what the heck is going on?
They had fun.
Yeah, they had fun.
They did have fun. There's no question about it.
Heck yeah. I mean, if you're a Mets fan, it's got to be like your favorite team all the time.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can remember being a kid watching and like seeing them, and it's like, oh man, that's a cool team right there, man. They got all these dominant pitchers, and then they got Daryl Strawberry smashing home runs, and even like their bench players were pretty good. Like Kevin Mitchell ends up being a really good player somewhere else, but he's like, this is just a guy you bring in off the bench. You know, they got a guy on the team named Mookie. I mean, who has a Mookie? Well, you know, the White Sox they need a Mookie or something like that. You know, like I guess we have a Yerman to take place for the Mookie, but you need a good nickname guy. So
that's
anyway.
True.
Doc Gooden's my pitcher.
I like
it. For my hitter, I mean, I was so tempted to go with one of the extremely like roided out guys who you're like, that guy's no like I here in this spot I should go like Brady Anderson or someone ridiculous.
I
who's
thought you were
like
gonna say Brett Boone, but I mean.
yeah, exactly. It's a total roid monster who, you know, but I don't know if people if they just like if you just put up a graphic of the draft and like, the fuck you picked that guy for? No one's gonna get it. So I'll just go with the all-time greatest White Sox, and that's Frank Thomas. Since Jems didn't pick him, he fucked up. I will take his spot, and I will select Frank Thomas as my hitter.
I like it. I like that. Frank Thomas, by the way, actually, like one of the first games I actually can remember going to was the Kansas City Royals versus the White Sox. And that man was massive. Like, I mean, and I'll be honest, I don't think Frank Thomas was on the roids. We've had this discussion. I don't think so. I don't think him or Griffey did the roids.
Yeah, I don't think so. Like,
I think they would have been like Barry Bonds level-esque because they were so good that like if they took the roids, they would have hit like 84 home runs.
Yeah, you would have had a Frank Thomas hitting 400 season. Yeah. If you know, like that type of
right.
shit.
Well, and they would have both been healthy if they just did steroids. They would have stayed healthy.
Right.
And I thought for sure when you were saying a callback to earlier that you talked about your pitcher, I thought you were going to draft Steve Stone as your pitcher.
Shit!
I should.
That's how I'm surprised. By the way, Jems still has his pitcher left. I won't be surprised if Jems drafts Steve Stone twice.
Jems, you know what? I already had it out there. I had the 70s Orioles. I should have just went straight 70s Orioles on all of them. I screwed this up, you know?
No, but I was going to say one of those, when you were talking about Dwight Gooden and being like that Frank Thomas reminded me in that game, a walk-off home run by Bob Hamlin. I don't know if you guys remember Bob Hamlin.
I remember, yes.
Like, that's how you know baseball. That's a callback to earlier. Anyone can play baseball. When you see Bob Hamlin, you're like, anyone can play this sport.
Absolutely right.
Didn't look athletic at all. So, oh man. So I got my announcer and my pitcher. I don't have to pick a batter because you guys already took batters. Shit, what do I have left? I'm gonna go with staple food. I'm gonna be the first one with food off the board, and it's gonna probably, I don't know if it's gonna be like met with good regard, but I'm gonna take shelled peanuts.
Oh, I love shelled peanuts. Absolutely,
okay. It's a classic. I got to get them every time I go to the ballpark.
You know what's funny about that is at Sox Park you can bring in a certain amount of food, and my buddy, my Sox Summer, he always brings he'll have a satchel. Or he used to in the old days. We have a satchel of Costco shelled peanuts. And he'd have just like this feed bag where we're all reaching in there like, hey, everyone's like, oh, it's just peanuts. Fuck that. There's shells everywhere in our section. It's like people love peanuts and beer. Like
I don't know if I have like an unhealthy like relationship with shelled peanuts because like being at the ballpark all the time, I know, and I would, even when I played, I had shelled peanuts. I know a lot of people went sunflower seeds. I would just eat peanuts while I was playing. Okay. But like my dad, I just remember like the first time I ever thinking about actually going out to a restaurant. My dad was like, "We're gonna go to a nice restaurant. Like it's gonna be sweet." The restaurant my dad took us to was a place where you could throw shelled peanuts on the floor. Like
Texas Roadhouse.
So I don't know. I don't know if it's just like my upbringing, but like shelled peanuts.
Sounds fun.
all the way. If my wife wouldn't murder me, I'd after this podcast, I'd go out to my kitchen. These shelled peanuts and throw them on the floor, but I'd be dead.
You know what? That's good content. Go ahead and do that.
Yeah, exactly. Video. You get a video on that. Yeah.
Get the video.
Jems is right. Get a video of that for sure.
So I need a pitcher, but that'll be last. Manager, food. So I'm gonna go with my food too, and I like a brat with the sautéed onions.
Oh yeah, there's no question.
That's like my favorite thing every time I go to the stadium, and like guaranteed rate. The Cell, Comiskey, whatever you want to call it, Sox Park has the best food.
Oh, absolutely. Not only do they have all the like interesting stuff that other ballparks don't have, they do the staples so well, man. They do the Polish and they're talking about the brat's always terrific. They got the Italian sausage. Like they have all the encased meats done properly. The grilled onion, like that's the smell I want when I walk in the ballpark. Those grilled onions, I got that coming right up my gigantic nose. That's my favorite thing to ingest when I walk in there.
It's one of my favorite things about ballparks. And since I've never been to the Chicago White Sox baseball park, what's the weirdest fucking food menu that you can think of that's in the park?
Oh, I mean they've got they have elotes. Elotes is just like corn and like some cream or whatever. I mean they've got on the club levels they've got all kinds of weird shit like sandwiches and ice cream. They do a helmet Sunday. It's a helmet, and it's
nice.
it's like $18, and like they do all these different fries. They do like Irish fries, and last year they had a fry where they'd have beef from the beef sandwich, and then jardinera in there. Like they'll do all kinds of stuff, like
nice.
Sweet potato fries,
bacon on a stick or something.
Bacon on a stick. I mean, it's $5, but it's good. I love bacon on a stick. I will get a bacon on a stick. Nothing like having a nice big piece of bacon to gnaw on while you're in between sips of your beer.
I feel like they missed the boat with that though. They should have got like a beef stick and then put the bacon on the beef stick. That's like
they don't want to cross the flavors. They just want to leave the simplicity of the bacon. That's the thing though. They'll hand it to you and it's in foil, but you burn your fucking hand trying to make that. It's like, damn.
It's hilarious.
So I guess next I'll go with my manager and trying to avoid going like super Soxy, spread my wings a little bit. So I love watching Braves games, another Superstation team, and seeing Bobby Cox get ran out of games like 4 times a week. So Bobby Cox.
Love Bobby Cox.
Bobby Cox is the best.
Yeah, he's a badass.
Yeah. Who's the Mets coach that put on like the fake mustache?
Bobby Valentine?
Yeah, I was just like thinking of that.
Yeah. He was in disguise.
Yeah, shit's funny as hell. I always think about that because like we had I don't know why, but like 2 of the places we lived, because for some reason military bases, and I need to like literally make like a documentary about this, but military bases are always right next to a goddamn freaking minor league stadium, like usually
Really?
triple. It seems like it everywhere we went, minor league stadium. So I saw a bunch of minor league players coming up. We were next to the Mets minor league teams twice, so it's like I don't know. I kind of followed the Mets a little bit. So like when they had not Bobby Abreu. Who was the big dude? He was like a big Hawaiian guy. I can't think of his name now, but
Benny Agbayani.
Benny Agbayani. And then they had a pitcher too at the time too, and they played for the Norfolk Tides, and like they would just hang out outside of the ballpark after the game. They'd sign everybody's autographs. It was like, but it was funny. Like he was a dude he would like play Tamagotchi. He like I remember like this is a crazy off the rails story, but I was outside and I was like 14, and the pitcher who Octavio Dotel, that's who it was.
Yeah, I remember him.
He was like signing autographs, and I was like trying to get his autograph. He's like one of the few players I didn't have an autograph for. And my brother's an artist, so he like draws pictures of the players too. So he has like stacks of like minor league players. Some of them like Vladimir Guerrero, like guys that like made it on and stuff. But Octavio Dotel was like, I was sitting next to him. I was just trying to get him to sign my ball, and like he was like signing other people's. And he was like, hey, he's like, my Tamagotchi's about to die. He's like, will you feed it? And he handed me his Tamagotchi egg, and I'm like feeding something. Just the most random shit like ever. You're like, why does he have a Tamagotchi egg?
That's wild.
Yeah. So that's why I love baseball, though. You can get so many random ass stories out of baseball. Shit, who am I missing?
You need a batter and
a manager. And both of those are you guys already picture, so I get free reign. All right, I'm gonna take my manager first, and I'm gonna take Jim Leland. Not only because I'm a Tigers fan, but because I mean, he's just a classic. Jim Leland. When
He's like going in the tunnel to hit the heater, get a heater.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, and low key, like one of my favorite players all time played for him as well. Jose Chico Lind when he was at the Pirates. I love him. Second baseman. I don't know why he was one of my favorite players, but
didn't we figure out one podcast that Jim Leland is younger than Tony La Russa or something?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, he looks like hell because of all the smoking, but I believe it. Yeah, because I think he was an assistant for La Russa when he was with the Sox the first time. I'm pretty sure before he became a manager with the Pirates and obviously the Tigers later. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the case.
I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, we were shocked. I don't know why we were both shocked, but we were like, because I thought one of them was dead. I don't know. I can't remember. It was like, yeah, yeah. I forgot. I think we were like four. We were talking about four different people, and I was like, I think he's dead. And then he was
no, if he dies tomorrow, it's your fault. Right?
Yeah,
I will go on the internet and blame you.
By the way, I will, and I'll feel bad about it too. Because
how dare you,
man? We can't lose Jim.
Oh, you can't lose a treasure like that.
No.
All right, so I've got back to back here.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my beverage and I've got my announcer. So, it could be food, but it's not going to be food. It's going to be beverage.
By the way, I'm a stats guy, so I feel bad earlier. I definitely thought you had the last pick, but you don't because I'm stupid. So
I swing around.
I just wanted to correct that.
I knew it because I've seen people do the 5 one, and it doesn't line up right. You need an even number of picks, in order for me to get back around at last. So I took advantage of you guys. I'm sorry, but I know these drafts. So anyway, my food beverage pick is going to be a favorite, and not just because I'm contractually obligated to talk about Goose Island beer, but I'm going to choose the Next Coast IPA by Goose Island.
Okay,
it's my favorite ballpark beer. Not only because it's delicious, but because it's like a sneaky 7% IPA. And so you get kind of buzzed up a little quicker than you're expecting. But for me during the summer, that's kind of what I want to hit. We call them the heaters in the ballpark. Oh, we're going to have heaters tonight. And we start drinking those. And it's like, then we don't know what the final score was when we leave the ballpark. That's the kind of good time we're going to have with the Next Coast IPA. So one of my favorite IPAs.
I mean, it's good when you can like low key get a nap in the 5th inning and then just come back.
It's zone back into the game.
Yeah, you're like, okay, and you like grab a handful of dude's peanuts and then.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm also glad we could set a draft up where you could plug something. So
yeah, exactly.
Thanks. Yeah. Glad I could force my sponsor on your podcast. I'm sorry. Hey. Feel free to cut that if you need to.
No, you're fine.
And then you dub over beer, and then it goes.
By the way, low key Goose Island. If you want to send me a free 6-pack, I'll take it. I mean,
most likely Tone will clip that. And
well, it's funny because our other draft, and I don't know if Jems ran it by you, but we were going to do a alcoholic beverage draft. Was our first thought. So it would have worked. Would have worked either way.
Do a booze draft?
Yeah.
I mean that booze would have worked too. I mean I don't know what directions we could have gone there. I would have to take better notes because there's a lot of different stuff. It's wide, a wide net there.
I like how you were like, it's a wide net for alcoholic beverages. The sport of baseball has been around for like 100 billion years, not as wide of a net. Narrow that one in.
Well, I knew this was gonna so. You're correct, but you're also wrong here, Tone, because in a draft like this, you're going to go with only people who are great and characters.
That is true.
They got to be characters too, because you got to have a story to bring it out. With booze, it's wider because you don't know what people drink, and then someone has a story about the time that they got super sick drinking pucker shots. That'll be me, and then
by the way, we all got that. Mine's Goldschlager, but.
Attaboy.
Jems, you might as well finish that story up. What's yours?
Jose Cuervo.
Okay. So was that a Jems night?
No, that was the second time I'd ever drank. The first time I ever drank was Jose Cuervo. I was 17. We had a tennis party because I was on the tennis team, and we all got together and drank.
Tennis parties apparently were ragers.
Yeah, no, they actually were. And then the second time, I was like, oh, that went down so easy the first time. I'll just drink a bunch of that. So I did. And the very last one I did, I had overfilled the shot. So I sipped just a little bit off the top and I was done. I can drink tequila and a margarita, or like randomly if somebody buys a shot at the bar, but that's it.
Yeah. No, everyone. Yeah, but you're right though. Everyone has that one.
Everyone's got that story you can always bring up.
But I mean, it's always good when you can throw up gold flakes, though. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
Makes it interesting.
That's what you shoot for. That's right. All right. My announcer pick, and this pick is popular in some crowds and not so popular in others. But I like when an announcer can make up their own language and have an entire fan base talking in a way in which they talk, and they created a character that everyone kind of knows and embodies. Okay. And I know the ass end of his career was not great, but you know what? We all fade off. All right. So I'm going to go with Hawk Harrelson because I grew up with the Hawk. I still speak Hawk, not as fluently as I used to when he was in the booth, but I still, hang with him and all that bullshit. Or stretch. I'll jump off my couch, stretch. And I don't know why, because I've heard Hawk say for 30 years. Yeah, exactly. So I gotta go Hawk Harrelson.
I loved Hawk as a kid, but you're right. The last, Stoney was crutching him to the end.
Yeah, it was sad. It was not a good.
I haven't heard a word out of him any sort of way since he retired. Really,
he's been on. I think he's been on Garfine's podcast a couple times, and occasionally you'll see blurbs in the paper, like they interviewed Hawk about some situation. Or I saw some stuff about him talking about Ricky Renteria, about how he did such a good job bringing these young guys along and had them loving each other in the clubhouse and some shit like that. He's probably
pissed about Tony La Russa. He's like, I fucking fired that guy 30 years ago.
He's like, what are you bringing him back for? What the fuck? Some of the stories from that era are wild about how much they hated each other in that era.
I remember when Tony La Russa got hired. I think Jems was pissed about it on this podcast.
I was kind of pissed. Well, I wanted that fucking catcher from the Tigers. What? Who was he used to be a catcher. He was the Astros manager.
Oh, AJ Hinch.
Yeah, AJ Hinch.
Yeah. AJ Hinch. Yeah.
I mean,
AJ Hinch was popular out there. I didn't have a dog in the fight. I actually, me personally, I didn't think Ricky did a bad job. I could see Trump wanting to upgrade as you get kind of closer to the thing, and you think, okay, we're going to really do something here. When they hired La Russa, it was extremely underwhelming. And everyone leans on he's a Hall of Fame manager. And it's like, you don't forget how to manage. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, when I was 17, I could dunk a basketball. I didn't forget how to do it. I just can't do it anymore. Okay? And so maybe he can't manage either. So we're going to find out either way.
I mean, I think it would have been funny if you wanted Hinch, you wanted a cheater, you wanted some.
I want a winner.
Why didn't you bring back Ozzie Guillen then?
They're all fucking cheaters.
To be honest, if they would have brought Ozzie back, I would have been on board.
A lot of people would have liked that. The only thing I didn't like about Ozzie is in those post-game shows, you could tell Ozzie was pining for the job. So he would go after Ricky because it's like he wanted to fucking be in the dugout. I was like, I had to stop watching it because I'm like, I know what you're trying to do here. I can't watch this shit.
I think the only shot he had is if Kenny moved on to a different franchise.
I think you're right, Jems. I think it's a non-negotiable until something like that would occur. And truth be told, as much as I liked Ozzie back then, it's been a decade. No one's hired him. So it's not just the Sox. It's a market effect of what Ozzie has done that teams just ain't that interested, I guess. So.
I honestly thought after Robin Ventura, it was going to be like Paul Konerko or somebody that was going to manage. I thought he was just going to keep going down. Which, speaking of Paul Konerko, I have the statue from Paul Konerko Day, except for
he broke the arm.
No,
I think I'm going to say this: 88% of the Paul Konerko statues from Paul Konerko Day are broken.
My wife. So I had a 7-game season ticket or pack that year, and that was one of the games I picked, and it was on my wife's birthday, who's a Cubs fan, and I made her wait in line on this 90-degree day. It was hot as balls in a packed stadium, it was full.
It was absolutely.
The game started 2 hours late. She was so pissed.
By the way, this is why Jems' wife doesn't want to make pie holes.
Well, she got to wait in line to make the pie hole too.
She's harboring feelings from Paul Konerko Day. Oh man. Well, speaking of Paul Konerko, because I know Jems' favorite player is Paul Konerko. I feel like. Oh, I'm surprised. By the way, I'm also surprised.
Rippy.
Yeah, no.
My favorite.
I'm saying.
I have a favorite pitcher. My all-time favorite player is probably the pitcher.
Okay, and that's who you're going to take last, and I know that. But I'm trying to decide between Jose Lind because I love Chico Lind. Also, I love Nomar Garcia-Pero for some reason. I mean, he was like just one of my favorite players of all time. Damn, I don't know.
So Jose Lind Pirates is like Sid Bream, Bobby Bonilla, Barry Bonds, those Pirates, right?
Yeah,
those Pirates were really good, and the Braves just nipped them a couple times in those NLCSs. That was a shame.
Yeah, it's wild. I was like, the Sid Bream slide though. I mean, God. But yeah, I literally don't know which way to go because I have so many favorite players, and they're all favorite players for so stupid reasons. I feel like I should go lefty though. I don't know. Can I skip my pick and let Jems pick his and then come back to my pick?
Pressure's on. I'm gonna call a clock.
Yeah, that's right. Do it,
dude. I mean, it's bad. Man, I want to go with like somebody who's like terrible too, but so I'm trying to keep my lineup. Man, I have no clue. There's too many players. Can I go with? I'm going to go with a White Sox. How about I go with a White Sox? I'm going to go with Albert Bell because nothing gets old of Albert Bell knocking freaking Fernando. Is it Fernando Viñas who knocked over? Yeah, Albert Bell. That's what I'm going with. Classic.
Albert Bell also, when he was with the Orioles, he gets hit by a pitch, and he doesn't want to go first. He's like, I want him to pitch to me.
That happened last night in the Cubs game. Actually, not that he didn't want to go first, but their catcher got hit in like right here and his batting helmet flew off, and he just did a spin and just walked to first base. And my wife was like, "Oh, it looks so brutal," and I was like, "Yeah, he's probably got a headache," but he's like, "Fuck that, I'm not going down." It was pretty funny.
So Tone's probably right. I was trying to think of somebody else to choose, but my all-time favorite White Sox, my all-time favorite pitcher, left-handed. Anybody that can smash a bunch of beers in the clubhouse and then go get a save in the World Series, Mark Burley.
Yes, absolutely. There was always something satisfying about watching a Mark Burley start because it would go so quick, and he's up there and he looks like he's not really like that great of an athlete. He can't throw hard, but whatever he does, combination of all the shit he does, he makes it work. And like, and back to the non-athlete thing. I was at opening day when he made that play where he fucking scooped the ball between his legs with the glove. It's like, watching that, I was like Bugs Bunny's eyes popping out of his head, like seeing that shit. I was like, wait, what? What just happened here? You know?
I guess I could have also mentioned he's thrown one perfect game and the other no hitter facing the minimum. Fucking walked with Sammy Sosa. And then he picked him off, right?
He picked him off, yeah, that's right.
Was Burley the one that got the was it a perfect game or no hitter with the catch over the wall?
That was the perfect game.
Okay, that was perfect.
Dwayne Wise caught it in like the top of the one out in the top of the ninth or something.
That shit was crazy. That's
insane.
I was late for work because I was listening to that in the car.
Side story on that: Dwayne Wise had been out earlier in the season with a separated shoulder, and he still recklessly went to the wall for that catch. Like the balls on that guy to do that shit. I was like, unbelievable.
I like Dwayne Wise. I caught a batting practice home run barehanded from him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. Then, like, the next time we went to a game, I was like, I don't need to bring a glove. I caught one barehanded last time, and I don't remember who hit it, but somebody rocketed one out there, and I tried to catch it, and my hands hurt the entire game, and I dropped it.
Dwayne Wise is like the perfect fifth outfielder. He cover all the outfield spots. Lefty, can kind of hit, but not really. Like, he was like the perfect like last guy on your team.
Those are like the best guys ever. Like, you're like, you shouldn't be in the major leagues, but you should, but you kind of shouldn't.
Well, there's an unfortunate set of years where that was the White Sox lineup, was a bunch of fifth outfielders.
Yeah, exactly.
Alejandro De Aza was the center fielder and leading off.
Yeah, he hit 2 home runs on opening day one year.
I was
his mediocreness.
But I almost picked Joey Cora as my favorite player just because I wanted to. I don't know why I like Joey Cora, but that was
World Series baseball 1996. He was pretty good.
I don't know.
In the Sega.
I never was like a big fan of like the superstars. Like I was just like I basically liked the guy who was like 6th in the batting lineup and like was kind of okay.
Well, I was the same. Well, they were supposed to be good, but like my favorite player for the longest time, even after he sucked, was Gordon Beckham.
Oh, yes, Gordon. Oh, that brings back such bad memories.
I'm hoping
he was supposed to be a guy, you know.
I know. I'm hoping I don't jinx my current guy. It's not super hot at the moment, but he'll get
Who's
there.
that?
Little Nicky.
Oh yeah, Nicky's been struggling this year. He'll be all right. He makes a lot of contact.
I
He'll
think
do
he's
what
gonna
he
be fine.
does. You know,
I followed him through like Oregon State and stuff too. So like that's the guy I wanted.
he'll eventually fit. Like I think there's some game speed issues there for him because like the base running is a little off. The defense is a little off. But like then you'll see him make a play where you're like, yeah, that's where that elite defense is. He made that play, right? But occasionally he's kind of screwing.
Pretty sure he played shortstop in college too. So like second base is an adjustment.
Yeah, right. You know,
and then he will hit 300. He will be right around 300, if not higher. So,
I mean, you guys always had a lot of good talent, though. But I think, like you were saying, and I didn't realize until probably this podcast that is because you guys just brought a lot of dudes in, like when they were late, or you had them when they were early prospects, and then gave up on them too soon.
Yeah, we got Gio Gonzalez after he had him before he was good, and then he was good, and then he came back when he was bad.
Yeah, he just retired, which made me feel extremely old. I'm like, this guy was traded like a bunch of times when he was a prospect. When the last time the Sox were really good.
That's how I knew I was getting old was when like a lot of the dudes that I played AAU baseball with that played in the pros started retiring, and I was like,
it's over.
Justin Upton hit a home run against the White Sox the other night.
Oh, did he? Well, yeah. He was a little younger than me though, but he did play on our AAU team with BJ Upton though, and David Wright and Ryan Zimmerman. And
sheesh, that's a stacked AAU team. That's funny. We're getting ready to watch the game the other night. My wife's like, and now obviously Justin Upton's towards the end of his career now, and my wife's like, Justin Upton's still in the major leagues, and I thought about it. I was like, yeah, my wife and I are probably like in our first few years of marriage when he was a 19-year-old phenom coming up, and she's probably like, fuck, this has been like half our lives, and this guy's still playing.
Yeah, it's wild, dude. It's crazy though. I think it was Justin Upton's year. I have to remember, but like. So the first like 3 draft picks were like I had played with, and they were all like from all over the area. So like one of them was Verlander, one of them was Justin Upton, and then the other one was Alex Gordon. Alex Gordon I played Little League with in Nebraska, and then Justin Verlander played at ODU, and we played against ODU. So I played against him, and then Justin Upton was on our AAU team. So I was like, I played against them. I was like, that's so weird. All those dudes were just so. But Alex, by the way, Alex Gordon. I thought Alex Gordon when you said Gordon Beckham because I was like, Alex Gordon didn't live up to his promise either. But
still pretty good though.
Yeah, had a good career.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, didn't like Keith Olbermann buy like his like rookie card for like $2 million or some shit like that?
I'm not aware of that.
Some stupid ass shit like that. It was like, oh, he's gonna be the craziest. You're like, you're an idiot. But
we went and saw Justin Upton played in. Because the Diamondbacks were the affiliate in South Bend here for a majority of my like formative years, I guess, up until they switched to the Cubs. But we went to a few games to watch Justin Upton play. And then if my times are lining up right in my head, I'm pretty sure going to a Justin Upton game was the reason I met Emmett Smith at B-Dubs in South Bend. I think we went to go watch him play, and then we just went to B-Dubs afterwards, and Emmett Smith was there.
Fucking butterfly effect, damn.
Yeah, right. Dude, was the minor league team for the White Sox at one point the Chattanooga Lookout? Or am I making that up?
That could be. I don't remember. I know
they were the South Bend Sox at one point, and then they went to the Diamondbacks, and now the Cubs.
Yeah. I always find it weird when like the teams aren't close. Like so in Colorado Springs we had the AAA team for the Rockies, and the Rockies just dipped, and then we had like the single A team for the Brewers, and I was like, that first off makes no sense. How'd you go from a AAA team to a single A team, and then also like I mean, sweet logo that they changed the logo. They're the ones that have like they're like the s'more guy. It's a hot logo, but like I'm like first off, but if you're the Rockies, why wouldn't you do everything you could to keep your closest farm system close? Like it's an hour drive.
It's a lot better than fucking North Carolina for everything.
Yeah.
Well, and also the Rockies are playing at altitude. Why wouldn't you want your AAA team also playing at altitude to be used to the effects of this? You know.
Yeah, that's why that's the funniest thing about my wife being a Cubs fan is my wife hates Chatwood when he was there because like we watched him play in like AAA and just get smoked I don't know why it was every time we would go. We could go to 10 games in 2 weeks. Every time we went, Chatwood would be pitching for some reason. I don't know why. Like, Chatwood's pitching again? Like and you'd always get shelled. But that's what you love about baseball. You gotta love it.
Well, I think it is. Well, it's 9:10, so they might have already done first pitch, but probably about time to wrap this thing up.
By the way, we just Joe Rogan this podcast with you. You're the longest guest so far. So
feel free to cut whatever you need to get down to a reasonable size. But this is kind of the amount of yarn I'm used to spinning. So
I love
it felt great. And that was really fun. I really enjoyed the hell out of that. That was great.
You
guys are a lot of fun. You know?
Thank you.
Well, that means a lot because like just in the small amount I've listened to your podcast, you guys obviously know what you're doing. And I know Jems is a huge fan. So it definitely means a lot to us. Speaking of that, the last thing we'll do, where can everyone find you on your personals and then also your podcast and everything else you want to
Oh, sure. Absolutely. So you can find the Beefloaf personally on Twitter at Mr. Delicious13. So MrDelicious 13. And then you can find all 108 stuff at From the 108, spelled out FROMTHE 108 numerals. And then from the 108.com. We have a merch store there. We've got a podcast. We've got a blog, obviously. We also do the Sunday Soak, which the first episode of the Sunday Soak is going to be coming up April 11th. It'll be the first home Sunday game. Before that game, we'll be in there doing the Sunday Soak. We usually take questions, so that'll be out there on Twitter. We'll make sure you hashtag it Sunday Soak for that. So, yeah, all your 108ing needs go to FromThe108.com.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on. Appreciate it. I'll let Jems finish out with whatever he has.
Yeah. We really appreciate you coming on. Keep up I'm sure the 108 tournament's going to end up, I know the 108 is the number for it, but like you could have 216 or 432. Like it could keep growing and like it wouldn't even lose a beat. It's awesome.
You know, Jems, we're thinking about that. So hit me up in the DMs. What do you think? How high should the number go for that tournament? We've been thinking about expanding past the 108.
Jems's answer is going to be however high for him to be an entry.
I don't want to be like a homeless entry. I want to like earn it.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. That's what you
mind being a playing game.
As big as White Sox Twitter is, I would just throw another 0 past the 8. Just make it 1,000.
It'll go on for like 4 months. It starts on New Year's Eve. That's when we start the tournament.
We start just like pulling random people that are like Mike Caruso has like 7 Twitter followers.
You're in a playing round.
Get Gordon Beckham's niece or something.
Gordon Beckham's niece. That's terrible. Oh man, just a Nutrigenics bottle, like just
yeah, Big Hurt beer.
Whatever.
That's awesome.
No, but we appreciate it. Yeah, this has been awesome. I literally, it's good when you don't want it to end, but we appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot, fellas. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
All right.
Welcome